Chuck's in Florida, he's not
The
coming.
keyboard works, but just.
But, is it- Let's start.
Oh, Chuck. And I go ahead and click on. And I need to start video. Like, also, there we go. Chat, click on.
You can see it's coming back in and let them know. The next time they're coming in, you drop it off, just have to look at it.
I don't have safety on. I don't know.
I'll send you a second.
Yeah, Wade, the October minutes were never approved. There was a quorum, but there wasn't enough people to actually approve.
So we did approval of the minutes first October and then November.
Yes.
We need to turn these on.
Yeah. From now on, right?
All right. All right, everybody's ready. Call the service committee to order January 23rd. It's 18:01. And we'll do a roll call. Cosgray, present. Schaffner,
Present.
Foreman.
Present.
All right, we got, everybody's here. Also in attendance, we've got the VA and got the police chief, mayor, and Miss Schaffner, sorry.
Reading.
Carla, sorry, Miss Reedy, and Randy. Sorry, I got it. Block. So we need to do the approval of the minutes for October 24th.
Foreman makes a motion to approve as written.
Was not present.
So I'll second that because can we roll in the other minutes also, the November?
I think you do
28th?
it one at a time.
One at a time, okay.
Yeah, do
So we'll vote on the October 24th minutes.
Foreman makes a motion with.
No,
We're voting on.
I seconded you.
You seconded.
Yeah, so,
I'll say you're abstaining.
Cosgray? Yes.
Foreman? Yes.
Abstain.
And then we've got the November 28th minutes, read those.
Is that good to me? Foreman makes a motion to approve as written.
I can second it.
Okay. And so we'll go ahead and vote on approval of the November 28th minutes.
Okay, Foreman? Yes. Schaffner?
Yes.
Cosgrave?
Yes.
You're abstaining?
You
were not at that meeting. You
Yeah, okay. Abstain. That's right. So. I guess that passes, right? Got two. Yeah. Two of the three. All right. So approval of the minutes. Do we have any visitors or anybody want to address?
Looks like
Chuck's
Chuck's online. Can you let Chuck in now? Oh, I didn't realize he was up there. In the waiting room. Oh, just click on Chuck. Oh. Click on waiting room. Yeah, click on Chuck. Chuck, did we list this?
No visitors. We'll go into the goals for 2023. I think there's a typo on that.
Well, that's last year. I mean, that's last year's goals. I didn't know if you were gonna keep those the same. If you want to make any changes to them, I was just giving you, this is what the 2022 goals were.
5-year plan for the streets, 5-year plan for wastewater treatment, 5-year plan for water plant, and then a 5-year INAC project.
Looks like we could probably keep that the same. We're
Okay.
still working on all those things.
Okay, I'll modify the 2022 to 2023 then.
Do we have anything regarding the goals?
No, I guess is where we are on it written down anywhere? Is there anywhere we can keep track of where we are on it? It's like I look at this and I guess I don't have any idea where we are in the process of achieving these goals.
So we had the streets that we're gonna be paving and stuff. We had that laid out. Then, and a plan for that.
There was a general plan, I think. They were nearing completion and then Terry left.
Right. So do we just
I
Leave it
haven't picked up.
leave it
it
on the
yet,
agenda?
but
and
It's
pick it
something I
back
need to
up?
pick up on and
We'll carry on with the
It's-
same plan that we had.
It was closer to being finished than it was started, so
Mhm.
they should all be something that can be fit here, just a matter of picking it back, getting the time. to
Once
pick
we
it
got
back
full
up.
staffing back up. Okay.
So maybe, I know we don't have service for another month, but maybe Tim, for the next council meeting, when we hit service, you could just a quick 30-second update of where we're at on all of those, so that we can keep that going.
Right, so, because the I project was started also, so that has to do with all the pumps and all that sort of stuff too.
yeah, it's all the flow meters. and
Right.
things there.
So we'll go on to the village reports, I guess, the departments.
I guess that's me. We'll start with street. We're doing cold patching as we can, the water permitting. There's a lot of holes to be filled out there. We replaced a storm drop over on West Elmwood that was in pretty bad shape this past week. It got complete, and then there was
No, you're fine.
Okay, then there was another storm on Washington and Fremont. We actually dug it out today. It got ran over by a school bus, we do believe, and broke right in the middle. It broke some casting. So we had to end up digging all that out. And from what I understand and what we talked about was the school's gonna split the cost of that with us, that repair. Because they felt it was definitely what they created. The service truck that had an accident, the repairs were underway, the mechanical portion was done, it went to the body shop last week. And we're doing patching of any water break holes that we had, trying to get those completed. At the water plant, still trying to get on the meter replacements the best we can. He's assisting V3 on some projects that we have going on with some water line projects that we have. OPWC, the Washington water line that we're doing. He's working on those. 43 door tags last month. It was down from 59. So the month before, which is great. Wastewater. I know you guys are pretty tired of hearing this, waiting on sludge removal. The weather is just not quite. We need a freeze or dryness. One or the other. It's just not coming.
It's winter.
Yeah,
Either one will-
exactly.
Either one will work.
Either one will work. We just need one. We need a freeze with no snow, which is hard to get right now, seems to be. I know we sent more information over to V3 on the flow meters of the INI project that we just talked about. Project wise, the Granville Water OPWC, we're waiting on that survey, PTI, and they're getting ready for the bid package on that. The same kind of goes with the Washington Street water line. We've been in contact, Brian and myself, with V3, and we know that that one's underway. There's some stuff we're getting from the county. They're helping us with get from the county, and we'll go from there.
Basically, they sent me the sub-grant agreement.
Yep.
And Mike Crane is filling out some portions that I don't know how to fill out. And then once he's done, I'll send it back and I'll fill out the rest. From there, let's see, what was that guy's name? I can't think of his name. Not the county.
I used.
Yeah, I just told
I
you.
didn't write it down.
He's having the county also working on getting them a resolution from the county commissioners to proceed with this?
We are also possibly seeking a cost share with a Sleepy Hollow subdivision that everybody's been hearing about, because they was actually had in their drawings to take an 8-inch water line, basically right down that street and then cut over the hollow. So D3 is kind of working with the Sleepy Hollow developer on that to do some cost sharing. So that's going to help us out a bunch. And then the water line, Monroe, that's another one, is CBDG, and we're just kind of waiting on PTI and the bid for that one. So those projects they'll be hitting us this spring. There's no doubt in my mind. Other is we actually served a condemnation today on a place that hasn't had water. We shut it off 6 months ago. We've been in contact with the owner about some trash issues and things, and this has just gotten worse and worse and worse. And so talk with Mr. Faco and things like that. This was the best solution we come up with. It's a triplex apartment. So the water services are split. There's a main, and there's 3 water services, 1 for each apartment. Sewer, there's nothing I can do with, but this is basically got a subpoena on trash today and also got the condemnation. So
And what is that? I'm sorry, I don't know. What that is.
it's unlivable.
You have 72 hours, is it? to move
72
out?
hours. Yeah, I mean, I guess that was up to me, and I give them 72 hours. They could move out or ratify the solution,
Okay,
rectify the solution. I'm sorry. So that has to happen. Chief and I was there, and there's multiple excuses. This is why that happened. Well, it doesn't really matter. And then we're attempting to serve the owner also, which appears to be out of town. So certified letters will go out tomorrow for that. But it's like, it's always taking my time to go over there. At least once a week, we get a call about trash. At least once a week.
The 2 3-family side by side, the one Sean just remodeled, this is the one in Bucky that is owned by someone else next door. It's been a
Exactly.
real problem
Yep.
apartment.
So it's time to just put a stop to that.
At one point, they were hooking a garden hose from one to the other, taking
Yep.
the water from the
Yep.
neighbors. And it's a problem. It's a big
It
problem.
was definitely a smoke smell filled room when they opened that door today. So oof. That's about all I got, I
The
think.
neighborhood is very happy.
Any questions for me?
I was surprised to learn we had a spare service truck.
Oh, you was?
I did not know we had that.
Yep, we have a spare service
Did they
truck.
just get bought out of the ordinary budget?
I
I mean, I would have thought on council for the last several years, I would have known that we bought an extra.
This
service
got, yeah, about this time, I want to say last year, that
That's-
truck got bought, and it was one of those things Fairfield County offered it. And it was
Oh,
such a
yeah, that's
deal.
right.
Did
Yeah.
you know about it?
That's right.
I do remember that,
Yeah.
yeah.
It came to council?
Yeah,
I would
no,
say
no.
it did.
was- they-
Out of the regular budget, wasn't
Yes, we paid $7,000.
it? Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. Yeah, I just was
Okay, so
like,
it didn't need
Ah,
prior
ah.
approval.
No, I mean,
yeah, no, that's
I
fine.
assumed you guys knew.
We really need it right now. So
Oh,
it's a
yeah,
good thing we
it's
have it.
great.
I'm not saying I would have made
Yeah.
any different decisions, but
Right,
I
right.
was surprised that, we have
Okay.
these meetings and it happened and I didn't even know anything about it.
I kind of assumed you knew.
Yeah.
I think I think it was mentioned that Fairfield County offered us a truck
Mhm.
and the guys looked at it, said for 7-8 grand, whatever they were charging for us, we might as well get it. And so they went and got it.
Yeah, and I think it's about a year ago, wasn't it? Right about,
It wasn't last year.
wasn't last year, it was 21? Maybe, okay.
Okay.
So that's certainly
We're
good.
putting
progress
good
now.
use to it right now. Yeah.
That's all I got.
What about snow over the weekend? How long, do you know how many hours they put in?
Over the weekend, I think there was 2 guys here for about 2 hours, if I remember, 2.5 hours. Roughly. And they got, I mean, I did see some complaints. I hate to say I looked at Facebook, but I did, and yeah,
The
it
cul-de-sac.
was so bad, and it just
Yeah.
balled up. I mean, there's just
Cart
not
down there
much you
makes
can
it
do
really tough
about
to
it.
get it.
No, They just
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
never, you're never. gonna- I said, when I was out, I was contacting Mark, like mid-morning, and it was still coming down pretty heavy. I was buying them on Boswell Road down by your house. They were doing the road, so I knew they were.
Yeah, I think that they pushed it off and really didn't throw a whole lot of salt because it kind of got bolted after it got pushed off, so. But yeah, I want to say it's about 2.5 hours per person, so 2 guys.
Are the cassettes at the sewer plant all running on full auto?
Nope.
Nope.
Nope,
None
still
of
need
them?
cleans. They got to get some cleans, but we're trying to get that sludge out of there. I mean, it's just,
Right.
you have to do one then do the other, then do it, because I have no place to put, if we pull the cassettes out, we have no place to put what's in the tank out there.
So we're still at just 3,
Well, we're at 4, but they're not in auto.
not all 4.
No, they are not. Yeah, we're doing everything we can as far as that goes. And Brad told me today, he said, whatever happens, we got to do something next week. So,
On the right side, electric bill's under 10.
yeah, electric bill is definitely down, which is, I'm surprised. I'm shocked because almost everything else is up and that one's about $1,000, $1,500 less every month seems to be. Even with that cold snap and Christmas and everything else going on. So it's going pretty good out there for the situation that we have.
And then I had brought this up earlier. Did we, before Terry left, we started anything with the railroad tracks heading out of town on the VFW side, on this side, where the cement's splitting like it did up here? There's a huge hole out there.
I seen an email from the UCO, I want to say,
On that one,
on that one.
because I know we did.
I knew it should have been one on this one, but it
I
actually
know-
came up there.
I know PUCO sent us a letter on this one
Mhm.
because they determined it wasn't severe enough to sanction, but that they should do something, and then they did, and it seems to be holding up.
Mhm.
But as soon as that one got fixed, this hole started, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
I don't know if I call that one fixed. I would call that one something.
You don't lose small cars. in it.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Across it.
I'll give you that one.
That said, the one on the other side now is starting to get big enough that my little Mini Cooper is going to fall in and disappear if I
Okay.
drive across it.
And I tried to go the other way and.
Four different complaints with the railroad. In regard to that, the sheriff's department's probably at least 3. And now the problem is a part of the metal, you know how there's outline of metal. The one has so undercut itself that if you, I sat there and watched it. So if you hit any of that, that metal
Pops
does
up.
this. And it's only a matter of time, it's gonna take somebody's bottom of the car out.
If we've done that, then it might be time to escalate it to the Public Utilities Commission,
Mhm.
because they'll send out an inspector. And that seems to be what gets the railroad's attention when they get the PUCO letter. That's what we had to do with this other one. Called and complained, and the guy said it was, if I recall, he said it was gonna cost $180,000 or something to fix it, and he was working on a grant for it. And then PUCO got involved and they came up with their fix or whatever it is to,
Yeah,
they didn't do anything until they got involved, so if,
we had an issue up there twice in 1 week. He was there when the gates would just come down and it was stuck. And then I actually met the electrician up there and talked to him about that. And he says, oh yeah, they're well aware of it, but the guy that is supposed to be doing all of this just quit. And now they're looking for somebody to fill his spot and try to make this better.
well, maybe if they get a letter from the PUCO, will send whoever's doing it in Indiana over here for a day.
I'll just put that on my list.
I know a rail line, you can take it, it'll take them right there.
There you go. It is on my list. That's it for me.
So move on from, to the Parks and Rec Department.
Parks and Rec, we got that, okay, so we're supposed to have a meeting in January. Might actually end up being, I wanted to have it next week. The problem is we don't have, this is why we set up this new board. We don't have good contact information for all the sports groups that schedule on our fields. So the guy that runs baseball stays connected with them, and so I'm gonna give him a call and see if he's got, I think I've got baseball, softball, and soccer, but then some of the others, they don't use them as often. Hopefully he has contact. That said, if I can get a hold of everybody and I can still meet with them next Monday, I will. If not, I might just get pushed into February a little bit if we're getting this started. So
Did we determine whether there's a council member on it or not?
there, yeah, what Jeff said, village administrator is the ex officio on it, but there is not a council member as part of it. It reports in, but of course, any council member can.
I was the most recent council member that was on it and I resigned.
Right.
So
Well, no, this is the new Parks
The
Board.
new one.
okay, right, but I'm saying previously we did have,
Yeah.
The one under.
yes, Chuck was on there too.
The one that we have under state law that we're just not going to call a meeting for, yes. There is a council member on that one.
Is this the one that there was supposed to be a mandatory meeting in January and February?
Yes,
I guess when we violate that, it's okay.
it's kind of, yeah. Yeah, well, it'll be okay.
All right, then move on to BDRC. Is there anything?
Today, we're starting to get some of the information regarding windows. Starting to get some, I guess, information regarding pricing. No.
I have a question, because we budgeted for the windows, so. Brian, do you just cut a check to the BDRC for what we budgeted for those windows? Or do they have to submit an invoice up to that amount?
Up to that amount.
For-
We
for
budgeted
us.
25,000.
Yeah, so, whoever they select comes in at
I guess.
$24,900. Do they submit that invoice to us and we pay it? Or
Yeah,
do
they-
we transfer the money to them? to
No,
pay?
they should invoice us.
Okay.
So like I'm supposed to invoice them for $1 rent.
It'll be a little while. We're gonna
That's fine.
get at least 1 or 2 more estimates.
I'm in no hurry. We're in no hurry.
Okay. Thank you.
We got a whole year.
All right.
I will move on to, we have under old business, the east side drainage project. And B3's been working on that. and
That's correct.
They're still working on it.
Yes, it's gonna take quite a bit. I think I passed out a letter or an email to everyone last council meeting. I haven't heard any updates on it since then.
We have sent them lots of pictures.
Yes, yes.
I had a question about wetlands areas and stuff about that. So most of that's private property, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so the property owners are like stakeholders, but also was the Department of Natural Resources involved?
ODNR is involved in that, ODOT's involved into that. Obviously the township, village and private property owners.
And then once they determine if, say, there's a wetland that's declared on private property, then does that kind of complicate what needs done as far as
Certain.
infrastructure?
I'm certain that it does.
Fingers
that could
crossed
happen.
They don't say wetland, because
Uh-huh.
we've got a pond by the railroad tracks on this side of the village that's been declared a wetland for some toad or frog or something. And so
Yeah.
we
Well,
can't do anything, like, we can't.
It's like protected.
You can't
Yeah.
drain it,
Yeah,
you can't
but at
fill
this
it.
point, nothing over there has been. And that,
Correct.
this project isn't going to trigger that to happen or cause that to happen, most likely.
We don't believe so.
We don't have cattails growing in the wet spots over here yet. Over there, there's cattails.
Right.
Actually, behind, on the other side of Witherspoon, there's cattails.
Oh, yes, there is.
But that's way
Yeah.
out of what we need to
Yeah,
worry
that's a
about.
different.
That's further out.
entity, yeah.
Are you saying those are significant? Like
Once the
indicate-
cattails are growing, you're getting awful close to you. You
Okay,
better watch
okay,
what you're
that's
doing.
interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've seen the township down about a month ago doing some work right at the culvert goes across the road, and exactly what they was doing, I'm not sure. It wasn't there long, so. But I think it's more just everybody's kind of looking into it and trying to figure out what has to be done.
All right. Thank you for the update. And any new business for the committee?
No, I don't have new business, but the updated water sewer rates as well as the updated debt service rates have been updated with Unilink. So February 1, everyone in the village will see a 2% increase in their water and sewer, coupled with a $7 decrease in the debt charges. So,
So it'll be an overall drop of.
yes, the minimum bill right now is $85.42, I believe, and that actually will be drops down to $79 and some odd cents.
Good news. So without any other new business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
4 seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote to adjourn. Our next meeting is going to be the fourth Monday, which is February 27th at 6 p.m. We're adjourned.
I have a question for you. I have another hole in the window. This one is the storm the other night. Knocked
I
the
wanna start
window
video
down,
there.
and I tried
Run
to
out and grab my
put the
water.
window-
You can run out.
It's a
We got
it's a
time.
storm window in my closed back porch.
So like,
Can somebody come over and get it out of there for me? Because
can you call me at the office tomorrow? Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah. you just-
Oh, you're handing me a pen, aren't you? I wasn't looking.
At least this time it wasn't my dog's fault.
You can have your pen back. Yeah, just call me when I'm at the office tomorrow. And Stu's, Hack's gonna have to do some job tomorrow, but the product that he's installed is delayed, so he's got pretty much nothing to do.
Doesn't bother me too bad, except for if it starts raining again.
Yeah, well,
That was recording.
Yes.
air and
Probably should.
I would think.
heat out or something probably.
Randy's just gonna run out real
Yeah.
quick.
I'll be right back.
Stuart, you know, fixture of everything.
Yeah.
That's really the only reason you need a road staff is to fix stuff like that.
As my power went out.
Did it really?
Yep. And got a hole in my window.
Freeman's not so.
Beat my tree to death. There's limbs all over the place. I'm on North Basel.
Figured you'd be on AEP.
I am.
South Central had power outage.
No, yeah, AP did too. They have,
I didn't have it out. I'm on AEP at the store. But,
it was Basel Street West,
Must have been kind of local.
about 35 houses, I think, or
Yeah.
25 or 35. I can't remember.
They have nothing, didn't trim enough trees in the way.
There was a tree, it had something to do with the tree, didn't it? Was it in that alley behind my house, behind Basel Street? Because I saw somebody,
I think that's where there was a report of the down tree. But it was private. They asked us to move it. It was private, but they didn't say anything about power. I'm not really sure, but I know
it was
that
out for a long
they
time.
trimmed a lot of trees through here. I mean, they tons of trees.
It beat my tree up pretty bad. I had limbs everywhere. One of them hit one of my windows and knocked my window out in my back porch.
Speeding.
So it's got to try to keep that running with all the heat.
Ready? Okay.
I remember that. Seems to work better than a mouse.
All right, since it is 6:29, and we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order, please.
McCreary,
Present.
Reedy,
Yeah, present.
Keller.
Present.
Okay, and also in attendance, we have the interim, we have Mr. Little, we have the chief, we have the mayor. We also have council members, including, we have Miss Reedy, actually Reedy is on this one, sorry, Miss Reedy. Ms. Schaffner, we have Mr. Foreman, and we also have Mr. I'm totally drawing a blank here, Cosgray. So sorry, Mr. Cosgray. I was getting ready to call you Wade. and I'm like,
I know, I-
Mr. Wade. All right. So approval of the minutes. I'd like to have approval of the minutes.
So we need to
please.
address
I move that we approve the minutes.
Yes, I read over them as well. I'd like to second that. Visitors? Do we have any visitors?
Roll call.
I guess approval and second are the only two people that can vote.
That's true too.
Sorry.
Okay. 2-0 with one abstention.
Visitors, we do not have any visitors. Goals, we don't have anything listed. So is there anything you want to add to that? Reports? We do not have any reports.
We're continuing our safety meetings with the county. The only thing I have.
Thank you.
I guess we uploaded our report to BWC.
Yeah, we did do that. So, pretty good.
Are we going to get refund?
No, that was based on the audit.
Yeah.
This was a report that Terry always did, and he saw the email where we had to get on their website to
It was
basically
not that easy.
log any injury, any safety related stuff, which we didn't have any, and it didn't take but 5 minutes. And, get a refund or not? We may.
All right. Police report, please.
Thank you. The new SROs are both in the schools. The second one started his duties today. He's in the middle school. Seem to both be doing quite well. Got a lot of good comments from the principals and the staff of both. They also, the chief's been working on the getting us the grant for the ballistic vests. They didn't have any vests when they came on board, so we kind of got some used ones, which is better than nothing. So we were able to get word today that we have been granted the grant, which will allow us to buy 4 of the multi-threat vests, so that we'll get them into those. Since we wear external carriers, I think I talked about this before, it extends the life. So because your body heats what kills those, so that extends the life from those. So we just got the budget program from that today. I'm gonna mess this up, I know I am. Brunswick Police Department in which is north of Medina, somewhere between Little Cleveland. They on LESO, LESO is an organization, if you have like something that you don't need anymore, you put it on there, and then every police agency gets that, and then they have the ability to pick that up. First come, first serve. I was able to get on there. They had just stripped out 3 of their 2015 cruisers. So pretty much everything they took out, they told us we could come up, go through it, whatever we wanted. The deputy chief is going to take my box trailer up on Wednesday. So we'll be able to pick up the prisoner petitions, which go in the back. There's 2 of those. Those are about 2,000 a piece, something like that. The desk thing that goes in the middle, you mount everything to, is called a Giotto desk. They're around 600 or so, so we should be able to get those. Also the Nerf bars, which go in the push bars that go in the front. People say, well, why do you have those? And the reason is because we have airbags. So if we get in a situation, it's rare, but you get a situation every now and then that you've got to push a car, and it would be something more than the officer could do by yourself. You can ease up against it and push that car and not worry about it causing the sensors to go off, and you've got a real mess. We completed all of our continuing education. Just as we got that done, I got an email today that says get ready because here comes next year's. So we're gonna get a jump on it this year. At least they didn't wait till the 11th hour to tell us this time around. So that's pretty positive. We're waiting for, the only thing we're waiting on now is well, two things. One is the radios in the new cars. We have the radios, those were donated to us. But the problem is you have to get permission from the state to put them online because it's a whole different process now. So our radio vendor is called VASU. VASU has reached out to the vendor, to the state, and has asked for licensing permission for those radios. And we're about 3.5 weeks in waiting on that. So the lieutenant that's his only mission in life is to get those radios up and going with stars. Right now, they're working off of portable radios. As long as we are in sight of the big new tower that was built out in Millersport, they have radios. If they were to go anywhere that they're not in line of sight with that, they have no communications of any kind. So it's really important that we get that done.
Is this yet another snafu on the Marks stuff from when we got pushed into it years
Yeah,
ago?
I could, and I
Write a
will.
book?
I'll tell you this before I start. I could do an hour and a half on Mark's radio system. It was forced on us. The theory is that way, if I want to talk to somebody at the Los Angeles Police Department, I simply dial them in, turn it to that, and come on their main channel, I can talk to them. Well, as with most things the government gets involved in theory, it sounds great until the application is out there. And now you've got 50 hoops to come through, plus the radios are 2 to 3 times more expensive than what a standard radio is. So that's been a real problem, which is a great segue for me to bring up that the Sheriff's Department has decided that they are going to a different MDT provider system. So there's a lot of concern and gnashing of teeth over the fact that the radios, the MDTs we currently have, the computers in the cars, will function on that system. And after some research, we found out that they will not function on that system, so they're completely worthless. We got those back in 2009, so they're way past their lifespan anyway. We just keep updating them to keep them going. I found out today, finally got to talk to somebody in the know, so they're telling us that as of today, on the first go around, you can get as many of those radios you want. It's not going to cost us anything. Or I'm sorry, I keep saying radios, the new onboard MDTs. And I was told they're about 4,600 per unit, something like that. So we're going to get 6 of those. That should get us to where we need to be with that equipment. And then again, it's just a matter of the transfer. Our database will be completely different because we use Oleg currently, and they're going away from Oleg to a different system. So we'll have to convert all of our reports over to that. We're going to save the Oleg. We can still get in the old ones and pull those. But once we hit that wall, that hard wall, everything from their forward will have to be the new report system.
What do they use?
We're supposed to have a meeting and they're going to have somebody explain all that to us, but apparently it's an interface system where every actor can in. So if I want for some reason to open up a Whitehall PD report from this address, I can go online, click in Whitehall, go over there and open that report up and read it. I have no idea why I'd want to do that, but somebody thought that was important. So anyway, that's where we're at with that. The only other thing that I would have tonight, the mayor will have this available for anybody who sees it. This is our 22 run report for here in the village. It does not include runs in Pleasantville or Thurston. So the first part of this, if you look through it, it breaks it down by officer, different types of primary calls they responded on. It'll then go into an overview of types of calls, whatever it may be, and it'll give you the date of the call and what the call was. And then ultimately at the end of this, there is what's called an event query, which is for the entire year of calls that Baltimore officers responded to. So if a deputy responded to it, it's not reflected on here. So just we responded to calls for service last year was 747, which is still higher than I would like it to be. But that's down from when I first came here where it was hovering well over 1,000 per year. The biggest problem we had back then was juvenile crime. And I think the SROs in the schools, the DARE program we had, I think that all has really contributed to bringing that juvenile crime under control better than what it was, I should say. But anyway, the mayor will have this, and if anybody wants your own copy, if you let me know, I'll print it off.
Can we have it sent to us in an attachment instead?
Yeah, do you have that electronically?
Yeah, you can send it to you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I'd
Yeah,
rather have
Send
it.
it to me so I can add it to.
Yeah, I'd rather have it here.
okay, sure.
Does that break it down, like of the 747, does that have summaries, like how many were DVs, how many were OVIs?
On the query, it does not. I think that only at the end of the day, if you go back to the first section, it breaks it down like, well, let's look at this one. It's like threats, harassment, domestic threats, sex offense, vandalism, theft, drugs, weapons, suicide, domestic. So it's just,
You have to count them up. It doesn't-
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't give it like a subtotal for each of those
it
categories.
does not.
Okay.
It does not.
Now,
And I'm at the
if I,
mercy.
if I know what new system he's talking about will be going to, because it's the same one I use elsewhere, then those will be more easily available because it takes 5 minutes for my police clerks there to tell me exactly how many DVs did we have yesterday, last year at this particular address. Takes 30 seconds to figure that out.
And understand, we're at the mercy of the sheriff's office. So the data that they provide is the data they provide. But the mayor's correct. That was one of the things they brought up was you can even set that. It won't give, but for example, we can put it on the village website. And like a business owner, you want to know how many business passing bad checks we had or whatever. You would have the ability to go on there, click on it, type in the search engine, bad checks, and it'll bring up every date and every one that occurred. So I think that might be something that would be handy for everybody.
You were referring to MDTs. That's basically the laptop that you keep in each version.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
If by chance, if by chance, when you're talking to the sheriff's department, they can give us the summary numbers as well by classification or ORC or whatever. If they have that, that would be interesting. At least I'd like to know, because for those, every time there's an OVI up there, I know there's an officer tied up for at least 2 hours. A DV, you got an officer tied up for anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 to 3 hours if there's an arrest. If it's a sex crime investigation, you've got an officer 20 hours or more into it. And so I just, to know the math in the back of my head, we had 35 OVIs, which would be 3 a month, which village, a couple bars could happen. But 30, there's 2 weeks of a full-time officer's time in just those stops.
Yeah, that is deceptive when you look at this, because, you know, you're 747, which for a population, a static population of roughly 3,200 people, that's a lot. And the way you do that is you come back and you say, well, if this was a city of 32,000, you know, comparatively, you know, you're up there in that 7,400 and some calls for service, which is high.
So this is times that our officers were dispatched to a call in Baltimore by the sheriff's office.
Yes.
Okay, so it doesn't include when, so there isn't really the total number of runs in Columbus because it doesn't include when sheriffs were the ones sent to respond.
Yeah. What
So
we
that
asked
number is
for-
really not, I mean, it could be way worse if we had that information.
If you add that to it, probably had another 200-ish, 200, somewhere around that 200 number.
So can I clarify? So I just want to make sure, the number you gave us reflects the runs, Baltimore police, correct? You
Baltimore
said
police,
the sheriff's runs are not
Not
included in that report.
And that 747 doesn't include Baltimore police to Thurston and Pleasantville. That's
Okay.
just Baltimore.
Okay, that's what I
If
wanted to
you had
clarify.
Pleasantville and Thurston, then we're over 1,000 runs.
And it also doesn't include when they just stumble into something or are called by a resident.
If it's a call in, so for example, somebody flags me down and says, hey, there's a suspicious person here, and I get on the radio, then they generate what's called you look on the side where the big numbers, the radio room will generate that number, so forever and a day they can find it and it would be on here. So now, it does not include, for example, you're somewhere, somebody's got a flat, so you get out and change the tire. and you're just doing it.
Because you don't report to the radio room when you're doing.
Right, so basically what you're seeing here is criminal acts.
Okay, so even if you came across the criminal act without being dispatched by the radio room, you check in with the radio room.
Absolutely.
That it's happening, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I want to clarify.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they create a CFS, a call for service number. And then ideally, if an officer doesn't report, an offense report or an arrest report, that call for service number is cross-referenced in that report somewhere. Here probably not as big of a deal because you know 740,000 calls. We can narrow it down to time, give us this call for service at this date and time, because we don't have multiple officers doing multiple things at once. In your larger agencies, that's at times I live or die by that. Where's my call for service number?
Yeah. Be interesting to see how many call for services have been had on the 6 addresses that are next to the one we just.
Exactly.
Those
Well,
6
no,
numbers
that-
have a
that
lot.
we can do.
That we can do.
I mean,
Yeah.
a single address over there, I know had at least 5 in 1 week.
Well,
And it wasn't the one we just did this thing.
Right.
And we can do it because that's how, if we want to pursue a nuisance action for criminal activity,
We can
that's how,
demonstrate.
that's how I get those records to demonstrate those. It's not just police reports, it's how many times did an officer dispatch there and just not even do a report. And those we can get from the sheriff.
Yeah, that's just a matter, you just call down and say, at this address, I need all the runs from,
Just state to that
from 0101 to, 1231. I mean, I'll get that usually within 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, if you got something in an area that you're concerned about, just give me a call and I can check it for you.
All right, thank you, Chief. All right, so I guess we are on to old business. First up is Gordon Street.
And I think we were waiting, it's been on here, we're waiting to see how it went with plows. Is that what
Yeah, I
we're-
think that's exactly where we kind of left it, and I think it's definitely gonna help with the plows trying to get through there. I mean, there's no doubt, especially the big truck. I mean, I don't see any more problems over there. Haven't heard of any more problems up and down there, going through the pool. I mean, but nobody's really over there, but nobody on board in this complaint, not since I did.
Probably take it off. can't we?
As I say, probably
Yeah.
safe to take it off, and then if something pops back up, we'll put it back on. Right.
Okay, so we can remove that from old business. All right, next on our list, parking issues at the corner of Mulberry and Main.
as part of the downtown stuff, there's a meeting in February
19th, correct?
15th, I believe. Yeah, 15th, 6 p.m. Letters to the owner should be going out this week. BDRC is going to make, or the Opera House is going to make an event, since it'll be up there on their Facebook page, because they have quite a few followers. So we'll get that info out.
All right, third thing, under old business, the one-way north on Company Street, and I can speak to that. I haven't heard anything else. I did speak with someone related to the fire department, and they were impartial. They said to them, because they reside on that street, they said to them they were impartial. It didn't matter either way. They did think it was odd that it is one way at the, I guess, the southern part of that street, and then it turns to two-way. So I guess it's open to what we think would be best. So again, that was a resident that brought that concern to me. It is a narrow street, so I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Chief? We have discussed this before.
Well, and my only concern was because, I do know I've had contact with some of the people who live on that street. And I think that we just had to make sure that we weren't lighting the fire. I would tell you that to me, that's almost an alley. It's so narrow. And if you made it one way, it'd probably facilitate that. The only thing I'm wondering about is how much traffic that would go down that way that will now come all the way out Maple and we have an intersection of 256. So that, I guess that would be the only question.
When you start making one street one way, one direction, you need a way for them to get out.
mean,
Yeah,
that
I'm
would be
wondering
it. It
if
would
that's
be
gonna increase
Maple
traffic
Street.
on that little tiny section of Maple Street that is even more so now.
Well, that's actually one way the other way. So if they go up North Company Street to Maple, they've got to turn
in front of
left.
my house, yes. it's
Okay,
one
they
way,
can't, it's
so
one way.
It's
Okay.
one way.
It all would be forced down.
I guess
that
the only
one
time I go
street.
that way, I'm walking, so I don't really ever drive it. I never.
Yeah,
Either way,
it's-
It's a walking trail.
Yeah, there you go.
It's that part of Maple Street's one way, so everybody going north on Company would be forced to go out to West Maple. Because it's the only way out, and I mean, it's not the worst intersection we have in the village, but
It's
it's
fairly clear view. I mean,
fairly clear view. But it would put more traffic on that road. I mean, if the road's narrow. I'm saying this tongue in cheek for anybody listening.
Maybe you
I
shouldn't
know
say
what
it
you're
then.
going to say,
Maybe you
because
should
I'm also
not
thinking
say it.
it.
We can always do away with street parking.
Yeah. Oh, that wasn't what I was thinking. I was thinking, if we start doing that by the width of the street, there's a lot that are gonna fall into the same category.
Well, there's that too. Tongue in cheek, I'm not saying let's do away with street parking. I'm just saying if it's a narrow road, that's always an option.
It's a narrow road, but no one parks on that street,
Yeah.
so.
But they could.
Makes me think of German Village
I've
with
never
cars
seen
on
it
both
parked.
sides and one car laying down the middle.
oh, yeah.
I would add this just for this. I talked to my ultimate authority, which is my mom, and she basically said she didn't care one way or the other.
Well, maybe is it something we should just table, revisit it later? I mean, if it is an
If it comes up
issue,
again,
get some more feedback from the residents. And then proceed if we feel like it's something to address.
So it is one way now?
No.
It is
No,
one way
it
now.
is.
Just the one block that is.
Just
And
that
I
little
think that-
200
it's
foot.
just that between West Market and Washington Street is one way.
How did it ever become a topic?
I would assume just because the way it comes out, you got Basel Western coming there and you're trying to see around the curve this way and trying to see around the curve that way. I assume that's
You
why
can't see
that,
around the
yeah.
curve, it's a blind.
That big white building there on the corner.
Right.
You pop out there.
Right, so it makes sense for that one block. to be
Yeah.
one way.
Yes.
Which is
And I-
interesting because that's the widest part of.
Yeah, it is.
Right, it
It
is.
is.
But it was a visibility issue,
Yeah.
not a width
Right.
issue.
Yeah,
And I guess, I don't even know why the rest of the street becoming one way became a topic.
Well, I
A
know,
resident,
A resident.
A resident came to, and they have spoken with some other people, but I don't think it's been the majority that they've spoken with.
And you take one of our service trucks down through there, you're not gonna pass somebody unless somebody's getting in
Right,
someone's driveway.
Right, there's
just
person
no-
Walnut Street that's
Yeah,
like that. So it
absolutely.
isn't.
And you're right, we
And
we
there's
could
a
open a can of worms there,
It's a
yeah.
slippery slope.
And there's a
Walnut,
knoll.
Washington.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gordon.
right,
Monroe,
right.
Johnson.
And when you
Width of
go,
the street, I don't want to use that as a reason.
well, when
Yeah.
you go south on that street, there is a knoll. And visibility is not the best when you go to the top of that knoll.
Right.
I mean, it's narrow. I mean, that's, I know that's why people have brought it up, so.
Are we taking it off? Are we taking it on?
Taking it off with the potential to put it back on.
I mean, yeah, I
Residents.
think at one resident, it's not a safety issue, it's not a emergency, if, 10 more residents come back in and say, we want to talk about this, then obviously I think we put it back on, but I think for now.
Yeah, I was
So we're
gonna
not
say that
tabling
if one person has an issue with it, let them go and talk to the other people. if
And they
they've got an
were,
issue,
I did not offer to do that.
No,
They,
yeah, you-
they did.
You don't need to.
What I'm wondering is, what's the speed limit on that? Because I think moreover, the issue was also people coming from the north part of that street are speeding through that little intersection on that part of the street.
Well, here's the twisted turn on that, unless otherwise posted by a municipality,
Mhm.
any throughway, street that goes through in a non-alley configuration is 35 miles an hour.
So is that something that
That's the
could be
same thing we
addressed?
ran where these guys live out there on East Market. You come around and then it drops to 25 because that's a business district.
So could that be addressed then? And not to make it to make it one way from a two-way, but to address and maybe drop the speed limit.
Yeah, I mean, we should ask Jeff, because I'm surprised we don't already have an ordinance that says any residential road is 25. But council could.
I mean, that would be the
Council-
perfect street to drop
Council can
the speed limit on.
amend the traffic map to make that a 25 mile an hour. My recommendation would be to probably just encompass all
Mhm.
village streets and
Agreed.
residential areas.
That would be a big help to us.
Yeah.
And because in particular, this area also, there are at least a dozen children in this area. So that was the other reason that people, and it was more than one family that had mentioned that because of the speed issue and the number of children in that area.
That sounds like a more worthy cause.
Yes, yes. So it was kind of twofold. It's very narrow, children, people
Yeah, I
speeding.
like the idea of the 25 and all
Well,
residential.
I'm going to throw this out there. Nothing says you guys have to make it 25.
You're saying 15, 20.
I'm saying whatever you make it, the chief and the officers will enforce.
Right,
25 is your standard.
right.
I was gonna say, what is your recommendation for residential? I mean, reality.
Based on the width of
You
the
can't have it
road.
at 10 miles an hour. What?
Yeah.
15.
I see a lot of tickets in my future.
Yeah, I think 25 is reasonable. I don't think anyone's gonna give us grief over 25. I think we go lower, we'll get grief.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think all of a sudden they're gonna be holding placards up that says Bryce has come to Baltimore.
Well, So I think everything would be better than 35. And
No, I think 25 would be wonderful. And here's the issue, even around the parks and like Basel, my grandkids come over on the weekends, mow mom's grass and do all that stuff, get on their scooters, go down to Basel Park. And I'm almost terrified to let them go because even driving 30 miles an hour out that little stretch of Washington,
Seems bad.
I mean, they're moving on but they're lawful. It's still lawful. The 25 would change everything.
I think that would be an excellent thing to propose. 25 miles.
You're gonna read that whole thing to us, right?
No, I'm just looking to see if we have in here on the speed anything. I mean, chief would know if we did, but it strikes me as,
Odd that it's
Odd.
35.
but now that we say it, I'm trying to think of where other than Market and Main Street do I see speed limit signs?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Well, there's one coming into town on Basel Street.
Right.
I think Cliff Street has some.
Okay, so we went from tabling it to removing it.
Well,
To
we're
change the
changing,
topic.
Now we're changing
we're
it.
changing the objective.
Well, so maybe under new business, we should bring that up and say, hey, let's do that.
Chief is speeding at 406.
I think so.
I guess we'll see what
That thing's in-
Mayor finds, and then I think that would be.
Under operation.
And interestingly enough, now that I think about it, it's 25 when you come in Boston Street, but there is no sign that actually changes it to 35.
Because
When you come up
anywhere
that
it's
hill.
not posted, it's automatically 35. That's what we're trying to change.
That would mean a whole lot of 25 street
Well,
signs.
most of the residential streets that really should.
Yes.
I mean, they're all there.
Liberty, right, because people park on that street, it's essentially, it's a one lane.
Market Street or
Plus
Main Street, I don't
parking.
think I ever get over 25 miles an hour.
I'm surprised some of those smaller, thinner streets just doesn't have parking on one side. Why-
Well,
why-
Liberty only has parking on one side, but that still makes that street essentially. It's a
Okay.
2-lane street, parking on the
Yeah,
right
you're
side.
right.
But then, yeah, so it's very narrow with
You're
that
right.
parking
You're right, it is.
allowance there. So what about Summer's Choice? Is it posted? Like right in front of the pool where all the kids are now that it's a street? So that would be another, yeah, that would be important to put that one
I mean,
posted with all the kids.
when was the last time we bought speed limit signs?
I don't
That would
know.
be
I-
Stop signs.
important in the summer to
ever
be
make
down to
that street?
15.
I think that's.
It
what you
was
would have to
definitely made
consider
a street.
Posting at
Yeah,
a
it
lower
was.
speed limit. is
Yeah.
all
A
it
public
should be.
roadways. I know it wasn't,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's something we should discuss,
Yeah.
because that's. something we
okay.
wanna add.
Yeah.
Where
New
else did you
business,
do it?
Summer's Choice,
Definitely Summer's Choice. Yeah.
propose that
And
one
can you
lower
just do
than.
that in the summer?
Yeah, we can do that later, but I think that one's.
You're the one.
Slow it down, bro.
I avoid 256 in front of the school.
The 20 mile an hour.
20.
Yeah. Feels like you're not even moving.
I feel like you're crawling.
Shorter.
Have a seasonal sign.
Yeah. you do. I don't know if-
I don't know if you can do that.
From May till September.
Well, in session.
Make them all 25.
Yeah, but
Everybody's slower there.
at Summer's Choice during the pool. No.
Yeah, what they do.
Anything outside of the business district. it's just
Not very
considered is exempted.
Well, now they're going forward.
No, except.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a few.
Make it pretty.
There are some people doing a
There was
little
a
cut through
few,
there.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Outside business districts, in the alleys. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So unless it's a business district.
Because then I think about,
nothing you can do.
I think
But you
my
have to change that.
tiny
Yeah.
one-way
Yeah.
streets considered a street, so technically, it's okay when people fly through there.
And they feel
And
like they're
literally they
flying.
do, and they often skip the stop sign.
But they probably aren't going over 35.
But it sure
In a
seems a
tight
lot
setting like that,
faster.
it feels fast.
They go right through the stop sign in Washington and Boston. too.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
Yeah, that's what I would.
Trust me, they go
Yeah.
faster than 25 out Holder.
I mean, it
We
just happens,
we
but
could get some
my
money.
I'm gonna write
street
this down.
is
Yeah.
like so
That code
short.
section.
They gain a lot of speed on that little,
So, yeah, we don't have it, so.
So, yeah, let's.
Okay.
new business.
okay, so it sounds like we have a couple things we would like to add to new business, so we can talk about this later. First is discussing changing the speed limit on residential streets to 25 miles per hour.
And I've got the code section, so we'll get to Jeff.
Just discuss changing what?
the speed limit on residential streets to 25 miles per hour from 35. And should we add to that, posting it?
I think if we make it, we've got it posted. So
Okay.
the way the traffic laws work, which is, I'll let you, anybody that wants to do U-turns, technically U-turns are allowed in the state of Ohio. The cities all exempt them, but if you change the traffic laws from what the state says, you have to post it. So if you go into the city and do a U-turn and they write you a citation for it, the easiest way to beat it is to go to every road coming into that city and take a picture, because if there's not a no U-turn sign at every road coming in, then it's not a valid ordinance.
Thank you for that.
I was
Same
wondering
with
why they were
shortcut.
also worried about it in the first place. It's not that
And-
common in a business, really.
We would also like to add that we want to discuss Summer's Choice, which is now a street over in front of the pool. In addition to changing the residentials to 25, talking about this one actually having a lower speed limit because of the nature of that street and families. But is there a way that that can be done seasonally? So during the season of the pool being open, or is it something that has to be posted and remain?
I think.
I mean, unless you do the state does now allow for variable speed limits, but you gotta get the variable speed limit signs, which are expensive. I think that road, because there's one residence on there, and it's the ball fields, if you make it 10 or 15 miles an hour all year, it's not affecting a large amount of people.
Okay.
And technically it's a dead end road.
Yeah.
So-
It would also help possibly give us the way to stop the through traffic.
Mhm, right,
You
right.
know, it's like, okay, you really want to go through here 10 mile an hour?
Chuck, are you hearing this? It's over by you.
Because then
Chuck.
you can usually get.
Can you hear him?
I don't really see there's a problem on Summer's Choice. Most people, I see kids, travel. If you put a sign down there that had 15 or 20, there's going to be people going 35. But most people that, that use that, go down to the swimming pool or the ball games, I think they use common sense. But I think, why don't you put on the water bill that, just a reminder, every village street should be 20 mile an hour or 25. Not that we have an ordinance or not. It just maybe wake everybody up, say, hey, maybe there is, maybe they're not, Can we do that, Mayor, or not?
Yeah, we can put notes on the bill, but
In addition to,
you got to be careful about saying, hey, residential streets are 25 miles an hour when
When they're not yet.
technically.
Well, yeah,
They're
as soon
not- Yeah, I know they're not. So why,
so you are saying you would prefer it not be changed, just ask, remind
I think,
people?
no, if you're going to make some of them 25, why not just make every city street 25?
Yeah, I think
That's what I'm saying. Instead
Yeah.
of trying to pick and choose this one, you're going to be out making signs forever in.
Yeah, I think that's
Well, why
what
don't
we
we
were
start
saying
there,
is
and then if
all
there's a
residential
problem-
streets,
Yeah, and then
25.
if there's a problem, maybe in the summer, the chief can let us know and then
Because,
maybe revisit it. Sure, I'll do that.
because while we'll say all residential streets 25, Market Street and Main Street in the business district will remain 25, but as soon as you go outside of that business district, it goes back up to 35.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's already posted as
Because
such.
it's a state,
Knows.
it's a state route, and it's, if you ask me, a stupid General Assembly thing that says, if we want to, we can increase the speed limit on that road. So we can say instead of 35, you can go 55, but we're not allowed to decrease it.
So in the main highways, we can't put
20,
25?
no, in order to get decreased, early on after I was elected, I said, well, let's just do it and see what happens. Well, someone else just did it. And then the Attorney General sued the village and made them change it back because of ODOT.
Okay.
In order to get them changed, you have to petition the director of ODOT, you have to do a traffic study, and then they have to approve the change to get it lowered.
But the 25 we have are all right.
The 25s we have, because those are determined to be business districts.
Expand it out.
As I say, has our business districts increased?
So that was one thing I said too. Why can't we just call it a business district all the way out to the village limits? But that does weird things sometimes with people when they want to buy and sell a house. You live in a business district and there's no businesses around, so it gets funky.
Mm.
So that's why when you get closer into downtown area, it goes to 25, and as soon as you hit outside of the business area, it goes up to 35.
So we want our focus to be on the residential streets and discussing speed limit on residential streets.
The ones we're allowed to control.
Correct.
Yes.
If I could add something, I think a lot of it comes down to, right back to once, a lot of it is the enforcement, how much enforcement time we have out there. I know we were getting a ton of complaints out there by the old Gulfs, well, out by where Rick lives. And we have put in a lot of hours out there sitting in that old station. And it's not like we're trying to write everybody the rolls, but it's amazing. They top that hill and all you see, it almost throws them through the windshield. But it slowed that traffic down a lot.
Good.
Because they don't know when we're gonna be there and when we're not.
And well, you were sitting outside of my house the other night.
Yeah.
You know, where they
Because I always put my seat down.
where they come in from out east and come in where it goes 55 down to 35 and then coast in, and you know, people can go flying in and you sit right there and it slows them down for a while. And
It's that kind reminder.
I just have something flashed about Melwood Park. There was something we could discuss. It'll come back to me after a week.
however, while we're talking speed limits and signs and stuff like that, Tim, on Market Street right here, where we come into where we come into the business district. So it's 35 and it comes 25. So it's the speed limit sign.
It's right by that tree.
Yes.
It's hidden by a tree.
You know exactly the one.
Yeah.
Can see it perfect now because the tree's not in bloom. In the summer, the tree blooms and you literally can't see the speed limit sign until you're right next to it. We need to move it like to the other side of the pole or the other side of the tree or something. Because it is hidden in the spring and summer and fall until the leaves go off that.
Do you mind if I bring up another street sign situation?
I mean, you're coming this way.
No,
Coming this way on
absolutely.
this side of the road,
We've already
like
said
3 blocks down here,
discussing,
almost across from the
that'll be new
car
business
wash.
for the next meeting.
Right.
You can see it now.
The
So
one-way
if you come
north,
in and you see
that-
the 25,
that's
that's
correct.
correct. Because there's only.
That
one
is
there.
off the table. We are now talking about on residential streets, the speed limit.
Well, we're still in old business, so if when we go to new business, okay, I can go.
Any other old business? No, so let's go ahead and talk about new business.
I'm questioning, and Tim, and you, Mike might even be somebody to ask. Do you get complaints about the corner of the new signage at the corner of Washington and I think it's Water Street? It's the street that the water towers on. Is that Water Street?
It's Tower.
That's
Tower Street.
The new signage, you mean by that stop sign? You're talking about the stop sign that used to be. You
Used to
make
be
a
continuous right
right
turn.
turn.
Yeah. That, and now there's no stop sign in the alley, which I'm assuming it's an alley. It used to be a stop sign. It used to be if you came in, if you turn right at the post office alley, there used to be a stop sign there. And there's not now.
Post office alley.
It's not an alley, it's Tower Street.
It's Tower Street.
Okay, Tower Street.
So there's not a stop.
Yeah,
there's
Yeah,
a
there's
stop
stop
sign.
sign.
If you're going on that one-way section,
There's a stop sign at the end of tower,
Have
and
you
then you
been
go
there
like
recently?
50 yards, and
Because
there's another stop
Every
sign.
time I go by there, I look and I've never seen a stop sign.
There was.
it's right in
Well,
front of
yeah,
that
that's what I'm saying.
residence
Right
that
in
has
front of
3
that white
apartments.
apartment.
That's what I'm saying. There was, but I don't think there is one now.
No, there's
It's
one.
still there.
There's one there.
Well, there
We
should
can
be one.
check
there.
it.
Yeah.
We'll check it.
I go that way.
Make
I
sure
We'll
it
check
It was there last time I
down.
went, and that was just.
Because it
That
was
does
in
happen.
front, should be in front of that residence that has
Yeah.
3
Well,
apartments.
Because it should stop because the people coming down Washington have the right of way to make that little S to that stop sign. So there should be that stop right.
Well, okay, so first of all, I honestly turned right when you turn right again in front of the fire department. I turned right there. I can't tell you how many times without noticing that the sign had been changed for one thing, because it used to be a continuous right turn. And I'm so ingrained to do it that I don't even look at the sign. So that's one issue. And then the other issue is when you're coming back, when you're coming west and you get to the school, you do not have a stop sign there. And you turn left, but the people who are parked in the school don't know that. And they think it's a four-way stop. And I can't tell you how many times that they have just stopped and I'm coming this way and then they just go right in front of me because they're assuming that I'm going to stop. And I'm not confused by it, but I think and especially because we have a lot of people, obviously people go to the school who are not Baltimore residents, and it may be the first time that they're there.
We've been working.
It's just
with
very
the school
confusing.
on that intersection, the principal. Officer Paul has spent, I couldn't say how much time they're trying to figure out what to do with that. The biggest issue is you hit it right on the nose. We get all these parents and grandparents, and they will pull all the way in the back of the school, then turn around and block that whole corridor so nobody can get out. And then when it's time to go, they go. And so that's been a real issue since the beginning of school.
Because that's a private lot that goes onto a public road. Unless the school lets
The
us.
school could put a stop sign on
The
it.
school can put a stop sign there, but we can't.
Well, there is a stop sign.
There's a stop sign.
There is a
yeah.
stop sign when you come out the
When
back.
you come out of the back, there's a stop sign right there about where the last parking spot is.
Oh, but it's on the left-hand side of the road. isn't it?
No.
No.
It's right
It's
there.
on the right.
I pay attention because
They stop.
I don't always walk. I don't always.
I
walk.
thought there was one between the fire department and the school too for westbound.
No.
There's not.
No, and that's what everybody thinks.
So if there is a stop sign there at the school, it probably needs to say three-way stop instead of assuming it's a four-way.
Or
not a freeway,
oncoming
it's not really a
traffic does
three-way.
not stop. or
Yeah,
something.
oncoming traffic does not stop, which.
Yeah, and that's what I started to say. That's the best sign that you could ever put up.
Is there any reason why we wouldn't put a stop sign there?
Make it a three-way. stop.
Or it'd be four then.
Well, it'd be only three because there's only three streets.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Well, that's
One, two, three. I don't know. I don't think it would hurt anything.
I think just with the fact that there's a school there and err on the side of caution, stop.
Yeah, there's.
I guess I stopped there without even thinking about it.
Well, there's
You're
room
the
to
one.
except for it.
I'm sure this, stop sign, stop sign, stop sign, stop sign.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that,
But it's not a square intersection. like-
no, it's not. No, that's why I have this is up here. So
And
this stop sign, it's this whole area. It's not a
the
square.
the Google image I'm looking at,
Try.
wherever we do
Yeah.
put a stop sign on Washington, it's going to go into the fire department's
Parking lot.
engine turnaround area.
Between the two is past the intersection.
Between the two is past the intersection and the image has a bus parked on it right now.
Right.
So it's hard to put a stop sign
Right there.
right
Nearly
there
impossible.
without, I mean, could it be done and not take up too much of the fire department's turnaround? Yeah, but it's literally gonna be a
I know what you're
sign,
talking
The
a
other
sign in the
problem-
middle of a parking lot.
The other problem with that is if you make it a four-way stop, it's very difficult. If you're coming west and you're sitting in front of the fire department, you can't really see
You're
the
never
people
gonna
over
know who's-
here, whether there's somebody there or not, to know who got there first or.
Well, they make the signs that say traffic like to the left or to the right. That's not.
I think that's the best way to go.
I think.
Why don't we put around that?
So well.
Just, is it a problem mostly at the end of the school or sporting events? Because I'm wondering if it's not one of those things where we maybe talk to the school and they need to pay an officer or have one of their people come out and just do traffic control for 30 minutes to get people out of the lot. Stand there, and if someone's coming up Washington, wave them through or stop them until you get people out of the lot.
I think if you just put a sign there that says three-way traffic
Or
doesn't stop
oncoming
or
traffic
something,
doesn't
yeah.
stop or something, because I know what you're talking about. Now it's coming up that
Yeah,
hill.
coming the
Because
hill.
when I go that way, you're right.
They stop, if that's not the issue, but
But they
they
stop.
think that I'm gonna stop too. And then they just go, they'll pull out right.
So cross traffic does not stop.
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
my close calls are really on Water Street where people stop at the stop sign and I'm gonna continue on Water Street and they pull out anyway.
Oh,
That's where all my close calls are. Only
Okay.
Fairfield County has right of way, like left turns, like 158 when you get into Lancaster, you got the same thing going on.
Yeah,
Water Street, you got the same thing going on. There's another one I can think of, but the person turning left does not has the right of way.
so we've got 2 stop signs on Washington Street that each need cross traffic does not stop postings for under the stop portion.
Is the one the school sign though? One's the school.
The ones,
Yeah.
yeah, the school,
Okay.
we order it when we get to the Burton Hills Court.
Um,
Yeah, they will. They're
So,
pretty nice. But the other one's definitely ours.
But I don't know that you really
Cross
need, do
traffic
you really
does
need
not
2?
stop.
Because, are you
Well,
talking?
for the one Rick brought up at Water in Washington,
Oh, I see. I got you.
and I know exactly what he's talking about there because it happens all the time.
And it's usually high school kids,
Yeah.
not thinking or, you
Or
know.
basketball game nights or football games.
That's on our,
So, okay, so where do we need to put that on the agenda?
I-
Is that up for discussion or with business?
I don't know that we need to, I mean, if you want to keep it on as old business so that we can just follow up at the next meeting to make sure signs have been ordered and installed and something. But if you don't want to, because we've got a resolution for that, I don't think we need to keep it on.
It's
Okay.
just a warning.
So then if we don't need to keep it on, we noted we need to add a couple of those signs.
And you want cross traffic does not stop or oncoming traffic? You want that verbiage?
I think cross traffic, because oncoming, especially
There-
the one at the school, you're sitting there and you're looking, oncoming traffic doesn't stop. Well, I don't.
There
think they
is
Stop
none.
or not, because I'm going this way, unless I'm turning left. Cross traffic would indicate the one coming in from
Yeah.
left and right.
Mhm.
So the one at the school and then the one at the bottom of Water Street or
Water in
Washington?
Washington, right
Yeah,
outside the service garage.
Yep.
In
gotcha.
the mechanic area.
Just wanted to clarify.
Safeway.
Mhm.
Right. Is there anything else? So our next meeting is scheduled for February 27th, following the service meeting. So I guess it's time, I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn.
The question that we adjourned.
I second that. Meeting is adjourned at 7:22.
You want 2 ordinances. They're both modifying speed limits, so it's going to be 4, 1.3.
I bet you, yeah.
First one is just-
Better
You
than my
struggle with
house.
that.
Inside the village, 25 miles.
So changing the speed limit, is that new business, or that could be old business? That'll be old business.
Which one's the signs?
It's
You
not
brought it up,
Well, he said we didn't need to put that. He said we could take that
Changing
off.
speed limit.
changing speed limit.
The speed limit. I thought I heard we needed to do that as new business.
Well, that, you brought it up as new business, now it becomes old business, then, right?
I would assume.
Yeah.
Well, yes, because it came up inadvertently under
New
an
business.
old business topic, became a new business agenda. Yes, thank
I
you.
got a little confused.
Yeah, I was like.
Vintage.
Yeah.
But we took a right.
Table.
Yeah, we did. We took a-
Yeah,
Move it
it was
again.
a- just a
Oh, that's new.
segue.
Oh, sorry, now I got a little-
You wanna make sure you had on fire, it seemed like we're throwing much heat out.
Water Street, Tower Street. I have never been able to get those 2 straight.
Oh.
The entire.
You didn't know that?
But we all do.
That's why we're happy.
I did.
It's okay. It's okay.
I don't think we noticed anything.
God, I was like,
The camera clearly.
I ran into some, I ran into my.
Are we still
somebody-
recording?
No.
Okay.
I ran into somebody today, who I hadn't seen in a long time, and on my board, well, I mean, I've known him since he was a baby. And he was really bald and I was like, it threw me.
You're like,
It's-
there's a
And I was
pot,
like,
what happens? I didn't send it to
I had this weird reaction to it because I've
come back
known forever and he just doesn't. he doesn't
Later than
know
I
himself.
probably-
So I kind of
Yeah.
like stayed away from him.
And
Then he
there's some guys from
They're on the other end.
started getting together, the class of 73.
I got a green band coming behind me.
And I was
Walking
good
that
friends
inbound
with him.
coming
And
in.
he would,
And
he goes, yeah, no, I am doing it. I go,
so
no, sorry.
if you change.
there's a guy who I used to see around town.
Yeah. The list goes on and
I
on.
think it might have been
You
Tim
can throw this in
but I'm
here,
not sure.
unless you're-
I'm still not sure. But I'd see him like at DC Freezer somewhere and he would talk to me, knew
So
me, and
it's
I'm
like
like,
most don't
I
like for,
no, I didn't.
you know,
Oh, I'm sorry. I had people like that. It's like,
I said, unless this is like
I-
selective
I
enforcement.
can't think of their names and they're up there
Yeah.
talking to you and you're
You
going.
know, Unless they're.
That's my everyday existence.
Yes.
That's the story of my life. And it's worse when I go to Asheville because I grew up there. So I went to school with all these people.
And then you
And,
don't know who they are.
and I look almost exactly like I did then. I mean,
Well,
obviously
at
not.
least you say.
Yeah, but more so than these people do, let me tell you.
I'm like, no, you can go. You can go.
When I get confused with being my 30-year-old son,
Okay, I'll come up.
I must look a little bit like I
guess
used to.
so.
I was working in the grocery store and this guy comes in and goes,
Right by your
"Man,
house.
you had a rough night last night."
So
I'm
you
like,
get that optical.
"Or am I
illusion.
30 years old?" He goes, "You're not Zach, are you?" I'm like, "No, I'm not Zach." That's how much we look alike.
Do you remember Rod
And
Gregory?
then when you get
Oh, yeah.
that, and
Oh my
then
God, he
by-
came to
by
our
turn to turn,
reunion. I mean,
all
he's
of a
passed
sudden,
away
it's like
now,
it's-
but
Well, yeah.
it-
uh,
it's-
he came to our reunion and I had no idea who he was. I mean, he was huge. He had this long,
Yes.
scruffy beard. and
Just scraggly little guy. I remember I said, another person you'd be surprised about is Greg Fisher.
Sounds loud.
Yes.
I've only known Greg Fisher the way he is now.
Oh, my gosh.
I didn't know him then. I only know him now.
I mean, he's totally not what we had in school.
Well, I was like, how does that happen? I mean, Rod, because Rod he was an athlete, he was nice looking
Yeah.
kid. And,
Take it out of
gosh,
Oh, yeah, Robin talks about
This is part of me.
Brad. I can't think of
was.
Brad's last name. But he was- she said he was like GQ at school. And now he's like 400 pounds.
Brad,
This Thursday.
I feel like it's getting chilly.
He's smaller.
George?
No.
Where's Brad? No, he's.
She said they called him Bad Brad.
Okay.
But I can't think of his last name.
Right.
Sorry, wait. So I was trying to like introduce people probably
gonna
gonna
let
like
pass my time.
No.
Right.
I gotta, yeah. I
Under
walked in the
pressure.
actual store just the other day.
Sometimes
Wanted
I-
new batteries before the next meeting. I keep
Yeah.
having to turn mine
This
on.
week, I-
And
There's
my
no-
performance been sort of blacked out.
I actually
Yeah.
did. I have short growth for it. and I think we grew up.
ADHD.
That works too.
And the only reason
Exactly
is
what I-
because Dustin lives up there, so he's
Okay.
I do a lot of places at work. It's just
Good deal.
easier just to know people already, familiar with the area.
Yes.
Know. Like we've been wanting to put one on this one here.
We haven't.
None of us really know where.
Are we going through that
exactly
money already?
Yeah, 'cause I don't-
How many you got left?
Yeah.
So, but yeah. I just bought one box.
Okay,
I graduated Tate Valley.
Like I said, what I'm figuring is the two batteries are between, depending on the length of the meeting.
Right.
2 meetings.
Wow, that's it.
That's a cost right there.
And
Yeah.
rechargeables might be worth looking into. I knew we talked about it at some point.
Yeah. I've said it a couple times. It just seems like it.
I'm surprised
It's
they're not
a
built
waste.
in.
But he said that
50
they get them really
miles. Oh, are they?
cheap.
Rechargeable. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we get the, don't pay tax, get the batteries cheaper and stuff like that, but if we're going through 2 batteries a month, each microphone, so that's 12 batteries a year by 3, 4, 5, 6, that's.
Yeah, but we
Are you all
got
right?
these batteries at low, but we got like a package of 100 batteries for $20.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know how you got.
I don't know.
Keep your feet off the ground.
That was uncomfortable.
I'll bet.
Oh, man.
I got shots of here, you do it.
Yeah, it's 120, won't kill you.
That's right. My finger hit this wire and I tingled. Can you touch it and tell me if it's live?
It was like static
Well, the
electricity.
gentlemanly thing to do.
I'll take a hit.
All right, Brian, you want to get us started? And that way by the time we hit record. We're a minute early, but it'll be all right. All right, start tonight with prayer and pledges. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and power, and glory forever. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll.
Cosgrave,
Present.
Foreman,
Present.
Keller,
Present.
Perry,
Present.
Reedy,
Present.
Present.
First is the approval of the minutes from January 9th.
I have a correction.
Okay.
I'm gonna do that. My name is not Darla Reedy Keller.
Huh?
I
You
did
left the
not
Keller
marry.
name in there from
Oh,
last year.
oops.
Chuck and Darla did not get married while
I
we
did
were.
not get married. Not Chuck. So, yeah, there's a few places you need to correct that.
A few places?
Yes, more than one, let's say.
You
think two.
Is that why you're supposed to read these?
I did read it, but I missed that part.
I mean, you just took last year, you put Darla in there, but you got to take Keller out.
Yeah.
You almost took it all out.
Okay.
So, yeah, just correct that.
Okay, the only two places I noted that were under the president of council nominations.
Correct.
The only place.
And the nomination, yeah, the
Yeah.
two, the two.
Yeah, the two are right there. Okay.
And so that being said, I make a motion, we approve them as amended.
I will second approve as amended.
Further discussion?
It won't affect the signature page, right?
No, it won't. All right. So roll call.
See, Cosgrave,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller, McCurry,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yes.
All right. And I will go ahead and sign the signature page and trust you to make the corrections on that
Won't
first
you
page.
mark where they're at, so I
Okay. Not a problem. Big old blue lines. I didn't have a red pen.
Okay.
But if you miss it, we'll have a different discussion. All right. Next is the agenda. I'm not aware of any amendments, so is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Foreman makes a motion, we approve the agenda as written.
McCreary seconds.
Discussion? Roll call.
Cosgrave,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Schaffner,
Yes.
Reedy.
Yes.
All right, we have an agenda and visitors, check online, no one else, no one here, so we will move in to admin reports. Mine, let me go through my list here. I mentioned last time the county comprehensive plan is back up and going. We did one in 2018. The county commissioners hired a new marketing firm or whatever, and the guy keeps asking us for information he should already have, such as what's your 208 area? Well, they're defined. You have that. Anyway, and they try to plan for land use. Last time, Terry and I participated the last time and didn't get much out of it because a lot of it is, hey, we think you should do this with your land in the village. And so this time I haven't been as active, but I've been keeping up on the emails and we'll see what they come up with as far as land use comprehensive plan. That kind of goes along with, I was on a call because part of land use is, and if you watch the news in Columbus, you'll see them talk about housing and needing affordable housing.
A couple years ago, pre-pandemic, I sat in here with Don Lane. We talked about him building homes on some property he has on Basel Western, just outside the village, and bringing it in. He told me that's never going to happen in his lifetime. It'll be his kids that do that project. But currently, he was having a hard time building a house for less than $230,000. Well, that to me doesn't resonate as totally affordable for what we have here, and we have 50% rentals still. And I'm in a call listening on this, and I'm just going to, council just mull this over and think about where we want to go with our land use and growth. But one of the people on there said, and it was a more type call. And so it was a regional agency saying, here's how we're going to do this. And one of the guys from the smaller village said, well, what if I don't want your growth? How do I prevent you from coming here? How do I keep my bedroom community? I don't want to do affordable housing. I don't want to do this. So I'm just, there's a call eyes on, keep it in. If I hear anything, I'll let you guys know, but that's kind of where we're at a comprehensive plan and what's going on. I already mentioned during service, we talked about the downtown business meeting and the parks group actually. In February 1st, Walnut Township is having a public meeting over in Pleasantville about solar panels and industrial solar farms. I know there's been a little bit of talk in Liberty Township about it and stuff, but Walnut Township is throwing together a meeting. If anyone's interested on February 1st and going, I don't know if it's an open forum or if they have someone coming to talk, but I do know they have a meeting February 1st on solar panels. And then lastly, after the last meeting, I needed to call Robert on a couple of things. I've had an opportunity to talk to him in between changing diapers of the newborn. And here's what I got on the pool, because that was one of the things that came up, the pool development and stuff. The next portion was getting umbrellas for the seats and working on the lounge area. But Tim, he said it's probably best we sit down and get a meeting here in the next couple of weeks to figure out what we need to order and do to get that sequenced.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about our manpower trying to do some of that stuff also.
So
yes.
But he's there on it, so we'll just let him know he's got a newborn, but he's also still working and doing stuff. So we just need to find a time to work on that.
Okay.
I talked to him about the white building. It is still scheduled to come down. Here's where it's at. There's a stairwell issue. And so for those that may not know, you got the white building and then you got the old bank that the Pint House is in, and then there's a stairwell in between them. And that stairwell is the access for the building that the Pint House is in, second floor. And there's an apartment office type thing up there.
In the white building or the bank?
In the bank.
I mean.
Well, it's really in the white building.
Well, no, the apartment is above the Pint House.
Right.
The stairwell is part of the white building, not part of the Pint House building. However, that stairwell is a permanent easement, for lack of a better term, to the Pint House from the white building. So when the white building comes down, the stairwell has to remain or be rebuilt. And so they're not agreeing on the solution. There's Pint House, there's the owner of the building, the Pint House in, then there's Robert with the white building. The land bank is doing the demolition. So there's a whole bunch of people trying to figure out the stairwell issue to get that building to come down. And so that's kind of where that's at. As soon as they get that resolved, land bank is ready to begin moving forward, but they've got to figure out the stairwell issue. Make sense? All right. Then I asked him about the corner building. And he told me he has a person doing some architecture for his brewery that he really likes. So he's going to have them do the architecture for the corner building and what they want done in it. I asked him when that would be. And he said, well, my plate, he's not adding anything more to his list, so it's moving up his list. He's not adding anything more because he's got too much other stuff going on. So what he said will be next up. But he doesn't foresee that. He said it'd probably be the end of this year before they get on the architecture. So,
at least 1 year out to just begin that process.
yes,
What if we don't like that?
there's not a whole lot we can do. I
I mean,
mean,
it's already been how many years?
and that's there's not a lot we can do because we don't own the building. We don't have ordinances requiring downtown use occupancy type things that some places do. There's nothing that we can do to require someone to do anything with that building.
Could we at least request that the owner repair the window that's broken, that is partially boarded up?
Find a violation in the zoning code.
Yeah, if we can find a violation.
Okay.
If we can find a violation, but outside of that, there's
Have
nothing.
we ever considered purchasing
So interesting.
and then before you take it down and now we have parking spots?
Or a new problem. Oh, parking, what did we really want to parking?
I don't think I
lot
would
at the
want
corner?
parking.
Yeah, you don't want
Main
parking at the corner, but
Corner of
And-
downtown.
Another municipality in Central Ohio bought buildings like that for those very reasons. And now they're going around begging businesses to help work with them to develop these sites because they can't.
yes, because if we own the building, then we have to do something with it,
Yes.
or it sits empty and vacant.
I mean,
Well, I
careful what you wish for.
understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that, but even the white building, I mean, I know you're having an issue with the stairwell, but that would provide us some downtown parking.
Yeah, so before Robert's company bought those buildings, I had made contact with the old owner of the white building and most of the units, because they actually individually sold a lot of units, but in most of them, because there was a tax lien on them. And so I knew from the land bank that we could get them. And so I called him and basically said, look, we'll pay your federal tax lien, you deed the buildings to us. And he told me to, get lost.
Well, and by many people's standards, people would say we haven't done that great a job taking care of the building we already own. So,
I think.
I mean, we're trying, there's an effort being made.
Yeah.
I'm not trying
I
to
know, I mean,
slight anybody. I'm just saying that by many people's standards, we haven't done that great a job of, short of volunteers coming in and doing their best, we haven't done a bang up job of taking care of this building.
Well, and what I will say is that is a drastic change from the position of council when I started. When I started, council's position was, we have down here upstairs is somebody else's problem to deal with,
Which is
we own the building, but they.
unacceptable.
So that is a change. I from the beginning agreed, because I went my first 2 months in to get the OFCC grant signed for them upstairs. But, that has been a shift, but you're right.
You can't
We've
let it
got-
crumble down.
We've
around
got,
you.
we've got more to do on this building. And if we want to take on another building, but I agree with Rick, if the village were to buy that building, what do we do with it then? Then we have to find someone to develop it.
I wasn't thinking about developing. I'm trying to, two things, tear even just the white building, tear it down. And then it could be a parking lot for all of our downtown businesses that we've already have a problem.
And again, the white building is coming down.
Yeah, but it's not under he'll do what he wants to with that.
Correct.
Just a thought.
Correct.
I'm not sure if that conducive to parking.
And can I say something on the white building? I did get a phone call today from a contractor that wants to meet there. He's already got the contract on.
What's the
That's
what?
Contractor that wants to take the white building part down.
Yep.
He left me a voicemail today, he wants to meet. So we can go over what he's doing
To discuss the option.
and discuss any options and where he can put dumpsters and things like that for the demo of that.
We're gonna have to
Okay.
get permission to block the street and
Sooner than
sidewalks.
Yeah.
later would be good.
And he said seed and straw when he was done. What that means exactly, I don't know.
So when they bring it down, they'll level the
Should
ground
just be a grassy area.
and they'll put grass until you determine what goes in there so that it's not a mud pit, basically.
Just so you know, I did get that phone call today. That's,
So that's correct. Now, if council wants to approach the owner about buying it for some other reason, we can, but I agree with Rick. I think we get ourselves into a whole different set of problems as soon as we start
Yeah.
owning it.
And how many water bills is he paying there right now? 4, 5, 6?
None. Council, they cut off the water and council several years ago, I believe, approved. Am I right, Jeff?
We abandoned those taps?
Didn't
Or he abandoned those?
Didn't we approve
so.
the abandoned?
Oh.
He abandoned the taps
And we just have
until,
to pay and redo.
until they
Okay.
I don't remember him specifically doing it for that building, but it's possible.
I thought he had taps that are still active paying water bills.
I don't know, something to
I
look
don't know
into.
that. I can look into it. I know
Yeah.
the gas company's been over
I
there.
think-
Abandonment.
I think when we were talking about changing the way the water bills were calculated, that's when his name popped up several times because those were using no water.
right.
And so unless that's changed, it hadn't changed while I've been here. And when I got here, he still had, I think, 4 or 5 water bills he was paying every month on there. And that kind of in and of itself is its own punishment.
Mhm. Oh, sure.
That's almost like.
I thought he had like 20 or some taps and we agreed to cut it down because he only said he wanted maybe 12. I thought he started paying on some.
Okay, it might be, maybe we just reduced the number.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, but like I said, it's still 4 or 5 and multiplied by our base water bill. That's almost like a monthly fine for not getting something
It
going
is.
on.
Yeah.
That is true.
Okay, so 405, and you said the gas has been turned off?
The gas, I got a right of way permit for the gas company. They did abandonment of the gas lines for feeding that building.
Is everything gonna freeze in there if they still have water bill?
It's all drained out.
Winter
It's-
Okay.
It's shut off. They have a tap, but it's already shut off.
Okay,
And-
gotcha.
Because we don't own the building, not our problem.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, that's true. I was concerned.
Well, again, I would just like to say, once again, I think it would be nice curb appeal wise if they could repair, there's a window that's boarded that is not completely boarded, that's open at the top, at least.
And I think
Just-
the best way to approach that is with an olive branch, not a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's fine, but I think that would be reasonable.
Yeah, it's
I
First
agree.
impressions in the center of the village, I think that would be great.
I
If
agree.
we
And I
could
Maybe
do
think,
that.
take the Brenda Sue sign off the front.
You know, just do what he can do to dress it up in the meantime. It's kind of like, what are we gonna do in the meantime?
Take the baby in.
you
strap
should
it
get
to
the
the
art
front.
department to come and paint murals on the grass.
You know, that's not a bad idea, because then that would be community, you know, working with the community.
Just gonna say, you put lipstick on a pig.
It would be nice, because I think that he still has the Christmas trees in there that were from 2
Those
years
are
ago
falling down.
that, but you know, just
Well, I will
lipstick on
pass
that,
that
they would be
along when I
nice.
talk to the next one, but that is the update on that.
Okay. All right.
And with that, unless anybody has questions for me right now, I'll pass it on to Tim.
Went over quite a few things there in service this evening, updates on projects. I did get a call from a lady that lives in Columbus, that's on the Garden Club in Baltimore, that is very interested in purchasing the old firehouse. She's left me 2 voicemails now, and I haven't contacted her back. I thought, well, let me run this by what anybody's thoughts are before I,
The old one.
the old firehouse.
Why
Still
don't I
has-
just paint them?
Yes.
Peg's office.
Yeah, Peg's old office.
That we pay electric.
Yeah,
and
gas.
That's the
Gas.
former food pantry, right?
Yes.
And
yes,
maintain
yes,
the
yes.
And the
From her,
internet.
from her voicemail, it is, she would like to turn to a small residence with a bookstore of some nature, somewhere in the building. I don't know what her plans are. Not being inside or being inside the building, not saying she hasn't, but that was what she led me to believe.
We own that building,
Yes.
and what do we do with that building?
Well, there's a
Maintain it.
process to go through,
Well-
because we can't just pick this lady and
Can't take our
say,
first offer.
We'll sell it to you. So it
Correct.
has to be publicly advertised, and bids have to be accepted and that sort of thing. So, and it would be sold to the highest bidder.
Right.
But right now, we use it for.
Right now, we use it for storage. Basically, we got.
That's where all the Christmas lights are at too.
The Christmas decorations are there. Some documentations there, just
Right.
enjoyable records.
Place with the stuff.
Right now, we're slim to none on.
This room back here
Is
is
there
filling up real
historical
quick.
value?
I think it'd be better preserved and better honored by someone who makes a big investment in it. I mean, if you're gonna do enough to live in that place, you're gonna make an investment.
I mean,
Mhm.
we gotta be careful when we say historical value, because
Yeah,
then if
you
it's
don't wanna
if
turn
it's
it
a
into-
historical building, then we have enough problems with this building that we gotta take care of.
Right.
It might have sentimental value to a lot of people, but I don't know what historical value it would have.
It does have a neat jail in it.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, part of Baltimore, I mean, we got so many churches and so many schools and so many properties like that on our two main drags that there's no place to put a business.
No.
I mean, there's an auto parts store that wanted to come to Baltimore and could not find a home that fit their needs.
Yeah.
Because the entire business district is populated with people who don't pay taxes.
Well,
I hate to be blunt about it, but it's true.
No, it's the whole problem we have when I was talking about the comprehensive county plan. I mean, our main drags, and Chief's brought it up before, and we've talked about other, you go school, church, house. Couple businesses, house, church, school. North, south, east, west, that's how we get it. And, you know, it's how the village grew 100 years ago. It is what it is, but it makes it hard for us now to develop a downtown or a commercial center without annexing a bunch of land saying specifically for and making that huge investment. So, if someone wants a mixed use, and mixed use is the way a lot of places are going, I'm all for it. But like Jeff said, it does become a problem because we can't just sell it to someone. We have to advertise it, and that person may or may not put the winning bid in.
Right, but someone will, and whoever buys it's probably planning on doing something with it, even if it's not her. And while we're at it, isn't that a better way to maybe get rid of that dump truck we got sitting down there too? Just go ahead and let somebody bid that out. too.
We're gonna put that on gov deals.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way that goes.
The flip side, though, is someone could buy the building, or it could sit there for 5 years,
Right.
and we're out our storage.
Yeah, isn't that a nice corner lot too? Isn't
Yes.
that, you know,
Yeah,
and I could see if we was really hurting for money, I might even think about selling it. But once you sell something, you lost it. It's nothing down the road you might want to use. I'm not really in favor of even thinking about selling it myself.
There's your answer.
At one time, someone brought up moving village offices onto that property.
yes, that was a COVID strategic move.
Right.
It was just,
It just was not feasible to do.
Yeah.
what we
We had to build it in 1 month.
Yeah.
We had a deadline.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yes,
Yeah,
I
it was-
recall
yeah.
that conversation.
So, but it might be worth figuring out, since there is at least one person interested in it. I'm with Chuck, once you sell something, you can't get it back. But if it also provides no value to us, why do we keep it? So can we make better use out of it than just storage?
Or could we take the money that we get out of it and build a really nice facility for the same purpose?
There's always that.
What about the library?
I mean, if we have plenty of land.
Yeah.
What about the library? If the county we could buy the library of the county, use the Baltimore Library as the village offices.
The Growly House?
No, not the Griley House, the library.
Is the library
Selling
selling it?
I don't know, but we could ask.
Well, I mean, we don't need to move here. We're fine here right now. The question is the firehouse that, someone wants to buy it. Do we want to sell it? Do we keep it? And if we keep it, do we just keep it to keep it? Or do we try to figure out, is there a more beneficial use for the village for it.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what that use would be other than what we're using it for now, but on top of that, we gotta maintain it, paint it, like Brian said, we're paying bills on it, cutting grass out of it,
Get, we store
and
records up
restore
there.
records. I mean, that's about all it's used for.
So it's a
It's not-
jam pack.
No, it's not
It's
jam
not
packed, not at
packed,
all.
but it's, the garage portion is pretty full with the Christmas decoration, with records and things like that. The office area and the jail is, it's not, there's not much in there.
There is a desk and
Mhm.
an office space for Peg.
I guess,
When the food pantry was there, did they rent that from the village, or how did that work?
Yeah, it was like $1 a year, something like that. And they paid utilities, is my recollection. The food pantry paid utilities on it, so.
So, and we also use it for storage at that time. I think the Christmas decorations were there then too. Okay.
Probably up in the office
the
area, because
office
I think
area.
they had the pantry in the garage.
Right.
My only thought is, you know, you look at a city that grows, they're always buying another building to put a part of their office in it. And I know we're not big as Pickerington or Lancaster, but if we ever decide to grow and we need some land or something, then we would have to go out and look for something in. I mean, if we need the money or something, then I could see, well, yeah, that'd be a good chance to, get a hold of some money, but that's like the corner there when we own that where the corner there, where that bar is, we sold that and look what happened. And maybe that was a mistake. See?
owned pizza and then sold it to Roby's for RP3.
Yeah, with the pizza, it was a pizza. Then the guy decided to sell the pizza to the RP3. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, how many acres do we have in sewer plant though? Couldn't we put a 40 by 60 service building out there? And still not,
It would be pretty tough because of where we looked at this when we was storage building out there, and it was really, really tough because of just the layout of the way the system is working out there and what we actually belongs to us and what is not belongs to
yes,
us.
but I mean, we have 3 parks in town that we
There
own. We
you
have, I mean, we own a lot of municipal land here in town.
Mhm.
And 2 of them are on the main drag where we have a higher, better use as a business, but I'm not trying to sell the idea. I'm just saying, not many municipalities own as much property as we do. And then we have to turn around and take care of that. We're mowing, Alt Park is huge. We mow that. Johnson Park, Boswell Park.
Cemeteries.
Cemeteries,
That's
the
things where you're
industrial
trying-
park. I mean, you compare that to other villages the size of ours, they don't have anywhere near that much.
Why don't we do this then? Why don't Tim return the call?
Mhm.
Explain that we can't just sell it. If we decide to sell it, we have to advertise it and it has to go out for bid.
Mhm.
But see if she had a price range, what she was thinking about. And then we can go from there and figure it out, because I'm gonna liken this to, sometimes offices that you work in auction off equipment. Well, you can either trash it or you can put it up for auction. Well, I'll give you $700 for this, but it's got to go through auction. So what do you have to lose? Nothing, because you're going to get $700. If she says, I was thinking of this price, and we say, that's a pretty fair price. And we say, we can do something like Rick said, another building or improve somewhere else. What do we have to lose? That just gives us more information to have further discussion on.
So is that lot, as far as zoning goes, is that a business lot?
I'm gonna say
If it's not, we can
almost
zone it.
gotta be, because you got
Because of where it
Covito's
is.
right next door to it.
Yeah,
And Chatrone's right across the
Yeah.
street.
yeah, I think at that corner, it would have to be a business, I would think.
I'm all for accumulating property. I mean, I own more than one property myself, but
It's
the village isn't in the business of
Okay.
accumulating wealth.
So it could also
Right.
become a residence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim gets some more information.
So, yeah, so we can have Tim get information. We got
service in a month, we've got finance in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So depending on when we get the information, but that way we can at least have more information to continue the discussion and some time to think on it.
Yeah.
And I also, another subject we had kind of had a luncheon, I guess, with the administrator from Thurston. We helped them out when their water froze over that Christmas cold snap. We really didn't do a lot, loaned them some stuff. It was very appreciative. He brought all of us lunch last Friday. And I had a nice little conversation with him, and he went to a seminar. I want to say it was in Fairfield County in Lancaster, and they was talking about Intel and Google. I don't know if any of you have seen the Google that's down in Lancaster. That thing is huge. I don't know exactly how many they're planning on employing. I know Intel's 7,000, 5,000 people or something like that. But the big thing was those two places and filtering this area this way. And they're trying to, he said he was in the process of trying to start looking more at infrastructure to get built up, expecting the growth. And they said, expect it within the next 5 years, you're planning on having some people come in here. A lot more lots, homes, hopefully another business or two. But he's supposed to send me some text here and that, and I think it was also recorded where I can sit and watch this whole seminar thing. So just to make you aware that they're planning on the growth coming, and Lancaster's planning on growth coming. And it's like Google, I thought I heard 3,000 people there too, but I could be wrong on that. 2,700, okay. So 2,700 people at Google and 5,000 at Intel, we're right in the middle. So just a food for thought. I do believe we'll be growing here in the next 10 years. And that's about all I have at the moment. Somebody's got any questions? All right, Brian.
Today, I finalized 2022, so those books are now closed. Let's concentrate on 2023.
All right. Jeff?
No legislation on the agenda, which is odd, but I mean, that doesn't happen too often. So, but it's the beginning of the year, so, and that's all I have.
Committees, finance.
Okay, Mayor, our next meeting is February the 13th at 6 o'clock.
All right, service.
Service met today, this evening at 6. We went over some stuff with the wastewater treatment plant. They gotta move the sludge, and went over the goals and an update on what was going on with the drainage project out there east. Our next meeting is the 27th at 6 o'clock.
And safety.
Yes, Mayor, we met this evening after the service meeting. Chief kind of updated us in regards to the Kevlar vests that we're looking at acquiring for the officers here in the village. And we also talked about the speed limits on residential streets. And we're going to continue that conversation regarding speed limits. And our next meeting will be held after the service meeting on February 27th, so around 6:30, 6:45 p.m.
And rules.
Yes, Mayor, we did not meet tonight. Our next meeting will be approximately 6:45 on February 13th after finance.
Moving on, Chief, we had you in safety, so what you got for us?
There's currently, as of today, a school resource officer in each of the schools. We completed the purchases of the new fleet vehicles, and they should be all on the street very shortly. And as mentioned earlier, we have ordered ballistic vests for the officers that did not have those.
I'm sorry, there was one additional item. Are you finished? I spoke with the sheriff's department recently, and they indicated that they're, and the chief's probably aware of this, there's an increase in the number of mail theft. thefts out of mailboxes, including deposit boxes where people are stealing checks and then they're washing those somehow and changing the person to whom the check is paid to and the amounts. And he said that that the sheriff's department said that they're seeing an increase in those types of thefts in the county. So just FYI. So
Make sure to check the deposit box.
Could that be something that they put on the water bill? Little note,
Well, they're not still, it's not being stolen out of your mailbox.
It's the blue box.
It's the giant transfer boxes. The
The big
boxes.
Oh.
Get in.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Columbus. And
There's been a couple armed robberies in
Yeah, they'll
Columbus. where
walk up to a postman, stick a gun in their ribs just to get their key, because it's all the same key. And then they'll go and strip everything out, and then it's not a check. and just throw it away.
So don't use the blue drop boxes, basically.
Post office internet.
Alright,
Makes sense.
thank you. Fire board.
The last meeting was held January 19th, and I did forward the December minutes to everyone this afternoon, so you should have received that. Next meeting is February 16th at 6:30.
Moving on, planning and zoning, no update since the last meeting, no meeting in January. We will have the variance in February. I think those letters are going out
This letter's going tomorrow.
tomorrow. Tree commission. I don't think there's an update. They had a meeting. I am waiting, we're still trying to figure out the trees in front of the funeral home. No update for records commission. So motions, any motions? Not, we've got no first reading, second readings, third readings tabled, which gives us the old business. Anybody have any old business to discuss this time?
Are we going into executive committee after the meeting or to discuss personnel matters? We're not, we're not going to talk about village administrator issues or anything like that. Or-
Oh. yeah, I
Well, I mean,
thought about
I mean, we
if
can,
you want to push it off to the next meeting.
we can discuss, we don't have the ordinance to do, I haven't nominated anybody yet, so we don't have to talk about. And then
Nominated for what?
village administrator.
Don't we have to interview a few people first?
So village administrator, the ORC, it's an advise and consent. Mayor nominates, council approves. So I present someone and then you guys, that's when we go into the executive session to talk about that.
Well, we wouldn't have any information to vote
Yeah,
on. We wouldn't know anything. We'd be voting from a position,
blind.
blind
Maybe.
position.
As in the resumes that we've been sent.
Yeah, but that's not gonna, I'm
Like
really,
an interview.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd really rather talk to the person.
I would too.
Well, and that person can be invited into that executive session.
I mean, no, the executive session without them, I'd rather meet them outside of that, just to ask them questions and
Or decide
understand who
questions
they
that
are. I
should
can't
be-
vote on this person. I don't even know who they are. And I don't think I need to meet them in an executive session. I'd rather meet with all of you in an executive session with them not there.
I agree.
I agree.
Well, I mean, there's nothing. I guess I don't,
I don't know if we're tiptoeing in an area that we shouldn't be talking about not in an executive session.
no,
When one of the
I
applicants is here and
don't,
things like
I
that.
don't think there's anything that goes in because it's not privileged. It's because we're talking about the process.
Okay.
And so,
So tell us what the process
Yeah.
is, because originally it was, you had all these resumes and you were gonna have 3 people when we were gonna interview the people
We're gonna-
and blah, blah, blah.
right. The way the revised code provides for the process is mayor appoints a village administrator subject to council's approval. It's kind of like the Senate's advising consent on presidential nominees. President nominates someone, Senate has to approve them. Village administrator, mayor nominates someone, council has to give their thumbs up or down to it. Once that nomination is made, then that's when you've got all of the applications for everybody, but then you can go into executive session. In the past, when council does interviews, they do them in executive session just because of the nature of interview type questions. So that person would get invited into that executive session to answer questions, review resumes, CVs, et cetera.
And then they would leave and we would,
And then they leave and council
Discuss.
has an opportunity to discuss.
and then we go back in session and you nominate, we either approve or.
And then you either at that point, right, approve or deny.
And that would take an affirming vote of 4 council people.
Yes, anything takes four council people
Okay.
is a majority.
And so far, you're not putting anybody forth.
I can't put anybody forth because we don't have, right now, several of the internal people that have applied would have to take pay cuts to take the VA job because of the way that the salary is. And that was my bad. I didn't email Jeff until today about the ordinance to change the pay plan. So we gotta,
So we have to do something about the pay plan before we can hire somebody?
Yeah,
Or we
we
can
have to
hire them with the
Yeah.
understanding that we're going to do something about the pay.
Well,
would you take a
would you
job on
not
the
take a
promise
job
that
on that?
6 people may or may not approve a different salary? That's where we're at. It is, I need to be able to say, this is a salary range.
Yeah, I guess I would have thought we would have taken one more step tonight.
And again, that's my bad. My hope tonight would have been that we had the salary ordinance. I didn't realize until I was reviewing that I hadn't sent it to Jeff, and we discussed that in committee, not in council, so he didn't have his notes to do it. That's on me. That's my bad. I didn't realize until too late to get that out there.
Could there be a request for executive session to discuss resumes that are that have been submitted?
Council.
Or do we even want to just stick with those? Do we want to put, is it still up?
It's still up.
It's still up.
Very hard to find though,
Yeah, is there better places we could put it possibly?
because I had a gentleman, this, but I had a gentleman that knew that the VA position was open and asked, where can I apply? And I go, well, it's on the site. And he's like, no, I looked and I couldn't find it.
I mean, I can.
So I ended up sending that to him, the information, but it's hard to find.
If I post that post, it'll kick it back to the top and make it easier on the homepage to find. So I can do that.
And do we need to post it?
Like, could it be on We Love
Elsewhere.
Our Town Baltimore or someplace that a few more people go to?
If someone wants to post it on there,
Well, I would want to take the initiative to do that.
I'm
because
sure
I
as
don't
hell
want to
not
do something
posting
I
it on that town,
shouldn't.
on that site.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that stops anybody from looking at it from doing that.
Right.
Okay, so explain to me again what is going to happen. First of all, we have a job description that says full-time, blah, blah, blah. It's not completed yet because we've got a bunch of mark out stuff that we need to complete that first. Then the next thing is you're going to tell us, okay, I'd like this person to be, and then we go to executive session and we say yes or no. And then,
It sounds like we interviewed the person.
You don't say yes or no in executive session.
well, yeah, that's right, but
You-
we
you-
go
yeah.
there and we talk about it.
You talk about it
And then we come back
confidentially.
out, then we say yes or no. And if it's a no, we start the process all over again.
Correct,
And then you have to appoint somebody again.
correct.
Where does the salary adjustment come into chronologically?
I guess we're
And
wanting
that's
it to get done.
I think you asked for that first, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
and we need to have the salary range first so that potential people know what the salary range is.
So should we have a special meeting just to get that ball rolling? Because we're 2 weeks to the next meeting and we're 2 weeks to the next meeting. I mean, I feel like we need to address this sooner than later. And I guess I'm not understanding why, I would have thought we would have made one step tonight, and I understand, but because of that, do we need to have a quick little meeting so the next step could be taken?
If,
Or, I guess I'm making a motion that we, or I'm asking council, would people like council like to have a meeting in a week, let's say?
Well, I think the job description needs to be thrown in there with it.
is it,
Let's finalize it, get it over with. If it's gonna be a 40-hour week thing,
well, we have a job description, what was
but it's
set
not,
up. There is an approved job description. What has been out there and with all the red line and highlights are changes that Terry and I started on throughout while she was doing it and that Tim has added to and stuff like that. So does the job description need updated? Yes.
well, and that's what you
Is-
said last time,
is
is that it needs to be approved because it's not been finalized.
It's, I think what we were talking about was the deputy VA job
Yeah,
description
we-
needs to be approved
I
before we
think
hire that
The
person.
way I understood it was that we will hire a VA based on the current job description that we have. And then then that person would determine based on their strengths what their job description really will be and pull out maybe the non-strengths for the
other
To
person
hire
that
the other
isn't the
person.
equal
Hire,
person.
yeah, for the other person.
Okay,
deputy.
gotcha on that.
So that doesn't need to be done first.
Correct,
The only thing that really needs to be done first is to re-examine the salary.
correct.
And I think that's gonna be important, because the fact is, once we put that out there, depending upon what it is,
Sure.
could determine whether or not the current candidates are still interested in remaining candidates for that position.
Well, and I guess maybe we could even start if Jeff's okay with it being on a motion with the ordinance to come. I tried to look at salary ranges and benchmark in Ohio Municipal League. I found the 2017 survey they did. They do it every couple of years. I think 2020 was supposed to be the next year they did it with COVID. I couldn't find a more recent one than 2017 when they put out their other villages. It's hard to find stuff online. The closest municipality that we do something with is Pickerington. They have a city manager. Well, they budgeted almost $200,000 for their city manager. for-
Yeah, I
for this
looked
year.
online for some of them too.
And it's hard. So I literally pulled a number out of the air and said the max should be like 130. From whatever it's at to 130, it gives you 40,000 to 130. Somewhere in there is that gives you the range. Because it was hard to benchmark and figure out, I started going through and it's like, well, if you hire a zoning administrator at $40,000 and a code enforcement at $40,000 and this person at $40,000, you start to add up to that. That's what the Ohio Municipal League stuff tells you. They do salary surveys of all these positions. And so I was like, well, 200 is way too high. A, we could never afford that. B, I don't think we're in a position to need someone with that skill set that would require $200,000, at this time. But we're easily looking with all of those jobs, high 90s, hundreds, somewhere in there. And so I said, I can't see us going above, and I picked the number of 130,
What did Terry make?
57.
Okay, so.
And she went to a smaller village with less people, no water plant, no wastewater plant. And she didn't, I don't want to imply that she left only for the money, because I know she didn't. Her and I had lots of talks before she left, and it's professional growth, why she's there and stuff like that. But she's in a smaller village with less responsibilities and about $10,000 to $12,000 a year more.
But I think we just need to also keep in mind that you're talking about doubling a salary for somebody that you're cutting their duties in half of what it was before. And that's the part that I'm having a hard time getting past.
I could do that, or you could, I could say, sometimes you pay people for what they know.
I get paid a lot for what I know, not how much time I spend on something.
And that's why we feel like we need to interview people to see what they know.
But I need a salary range to offer it to people.
And when you're talking about those numbers, you're talking about a cap.
I'm talking,
That
yeah,
we
exactly,
may or may not get even close to.
exactly.
I mean, that's one thing we talked about with all these other positions. Let's not wring our hands about the cap because we're not paying them that. We're just kind of moving the line down so that, you know, we don't have to address this every year or every 2 years when inflation's double digits. You're gonna have to address it soon.
Right.
And so it just, let's not get hung up on the cap.
Exactly. And
That's
that's
my position.
And I, so I, like I said, I picked a number, but I tried to pick a number that was reason, I could have easily just said 200 because, you know, Pickerington uses 200 and that's what they're paying their city manager. But, you know, 200 seemed a little excessive.
And we
Yeah,
have to
we're not
keep-
a Pickerington.
And we also
Exactly.
have to keep in mind that we're gonna have 2 professionals. So it's not, again, it's not a secretarial part, it's, we're gonna have double
I
salary.
mean, we're kind of replacing Terry and Barb. So we're not real, I mean, we may be changing their duty, expecting more out of the old Barb position, but we're not really hiring too high. I thought we all put the equal, co-equal administrator behind us, and we're gonna have a top dog and a secondary dog.
Right.
And that is effectively what we had with Terry and Barb.
Well, no, Barb was more the administrative assistant. I think redefining it.
We're gonna get
I'm
hung
with
up on
Debbie.
labels again.
Yeah, it's not gonna be like, but I would tell you, that person is probably going to be paid more than your assistant person was. So she is correct that, you know, you're talking 2 professional level positions with commensurate salaries.
Well-
So are you saying the 130 is for both of those positions?
No,
No.
no,
Yes.
just for the VA,
Just the VA?
and that's the
And
cap.
then you're gonna have another person come in that's like number 2.
Well,
Well, actually, we
figure-
talked
and
about
fig-
3.
And figure out where that cap is at. It'll obviously be less, you know,
But isn't that the conversation? I think that's what we're trying to do.
we
is
were gonna
establish-
wait until that person was hired to talk about the next person.
correct.
And so what, I'm not really on board with 3. I don't know where that
I don't
conversation.
remember
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, no, we have 2 openings.
VA and
Deputy.
a deputy VA and Barb, we talked about.
But I thought that was
Oh,
behind
no,
us.
so I think I remember because there was that executive assistant. So we had the VA, that executive assistant, and Barb's administrative assistant as well. So yes, there are 3 positions we could be there. It wasn't my intent to fill those 3.
Oh, okay.
The ones never had been filled. It was put in place hoping Missy would
Right.
increase her responsibilities, and Missy said, no, thank you. And so I'm only feeling like we need 2.
Right.
And I feel like we need to hire the one to be involved in hiring the second.
Mhm.
And I feel like just putting that cap up high enough to try to attract talent doesn't mean that's what we're gonna pay. And I also feel like, and then beyond that, we were getting hung up on labels, which for me is, I'm just not a person to get hung up on those things. But I feel like a month has ticked away and we haven't really made any progress, I don't feel like, and I'd like to feel like we're getting there.
I can prepare an ordinance quickly as far as that goes.
And if,
Amending the pay range. of the
And
VA,
if-
It's not a problem. at
and
all.
if council motions to approve that amount tonight, I can go forward. So at the next meeting, we could have that nomination, you could have that executive session. Because the motion will be there to approve that pay range. The ordinance is just at that point administrative work to get done.
So right now, Foreman can make a motion to increase the village administrator pay cap to 130. And if I get a second and 4 positive votes, the ball just moved forward tonight.
Correct.
Sounds like a motion.
Foreman made that motion.
Okay,
A second.
Waiting on a second.
Cosgrave seconds. Discussion on that.
I would feel more comfortable if I heard a minimum with the maximum.
The minimum is whatever it's currently at, 40,000, I think.
$10.10 an hour, set by the state of Ohio.
Yeah.
You,
I found that.
you didn't put that in the ordinance, or you didn't have to. You're just doing the cap.
We're just increasing the cap.
That's in 2021, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Can you find it, Brian?
2021. I'm looking.
I think it was.
And so
Oh,
when
yeah,
you,
it's in my plan.
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
put
it's in
this
the
out
manual.
here, when you put it out again in the world, you will be putting that information out also?
You'll be paying pay range.
I think that's the best way to do it.
The range, we could use Terry's old pay.
Yeah.
And the new cap,
Yeah,
and there's your range.
yeah.
I wouldn't call it a minimum because there are people in this world who just want something to do.
Yeah, that, I agree.
And I have some that work for me and they don't care what I pay them. That's not why they're there.
Well,
I'm just telling you.
Care 'cause we
The
work
minimum
here
pay
right now.
Yeah.
Here, I gotta calculate.
Commensurate with the experience.
My pay rate's
That's what it says now.
I think also if you're gonna rebid it, I think you're gonna have a deadline so we know we can move forward in. Say on a certain date, this is the deadline to get your resume in. Then we can interview them, sit down, interview me the top three. We go over them. If we like these three, we can interview them and go forward in.
What's your,
I agree.
but Chuck, that's not what the mayor is saying, though.
right,
Well, I think he is in a way, and he's not. He's saying he got a right to appoint someone, but if he appoints someone and five of us don't like that person, we got to start over again. Why not kind of go over the three, all seven of us, and decide what three we want to interview, and kind of just sit and talk among ourselves.
we've been better off with my minimum. I got 30. So the minimum is $35,838.
No,
No.
44,798
You said 1723.
per pay. There's 26 pays.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, 17, oh, you-
1,723.
oh, I thought you gave me $17 an hour.
I'm sorry.
$45,000.
$1,723 per pay.
Well, I'm glad I started this conversation.
Okay, so just under 40.
Just under
45,000.
45,000.
Just round it up to 45.
Yeah, that'd be easier.
So 45,000 your minimum. And that's already in the pay plan. This is, if I understand Rick's motion, it's just to increase the cap to,
Yes, that is my only motion.
yes,
And I got a second from Wade.
yep.
And I think we're waiting on a roll call.
Well, we're discussing.
Oh,
You have a
okay.
question. I want to make sure there's no more discussion.
Guess not.
Oh, I mean, if there is.
No, I don't have any. Brandon, you look like you want to say something.
No, I'm just listening right now.
All right, then roll call.
Cosgrave,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Foreman, yes. Jocelyn,
No.
Yes.
Four passes.
4 passes. So I will post again. And this time include the
All kinds
salary
of
range. And then for the next, we'll see what comes in and
And this is a full-time position.
Mhm.
The cap of that, and you're gonna put it out, I mean, I don't know where you interview, or where you put that out.
we put
You know, we
online.
need a VA.
You put it on Indeed. That's the best place to put anything.
We don't have an Indeed account. We
I
have
think we will put it on the Occo.
On the who?
It's Occo, it's more of a municipality website for job openings.
Cool.
And we can send it again to Ohio Municipal League.
And is somebody gonna like put it on Facebook? Hey, we need a village administrator in Baltimore. Or do you not do that? I don't know where else you put it.
I do not engage in We Love Our Town on Facebook.
And I think that if it was put there by someone less notable than you or me, it would be better received.
There's absolutely nothing that stops any village resident
I'll
from
put it out
seeing
there.
it on the webpage
I'll put it
and
out there.
sharing it.
I don't, where else,
I
where
mean,
else do
I'll
people
put it out
get it
there. I
to
mean,
look?
you know,
Yeah.
here's the
And
contact
Indeed is the
information
number
up there.
Indeed.
There you
I
go.
mean,
Yeah,
what's an
that's-
Indeed account?
That's all I need to
cost?
do. I'm not gonna
I
take
don't know,
any
but
Because
questions.
we're
right
gonna
now.
have to put it out there for the.
And
assessors.
all I would do would be link them to.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Here's,
We do?
here's the information.
Yeah.
Contact them.
There you go.
No, what the village does or the PD?
The PD.
Well, PD does.
Okay.
Do we not, I mean, that wouldn't be a good place for us to put
Well,
it.
I'm not saying that. I just want to clarify.
That we do have an Indeed account.
The police
The
department.
police department does.
What's it cost?
It was.
It was based on, it's based on if you hire somebody from it, a
Oh,
lot of that, but I don't remember what the total cost was. It wasn't bad. When I looked at posting it on. some of the-
Here's what I'll say though, is if we can post it again on our website, send it to OML, send it to ACO, get those. But if we start looking at posting on Indeed, I probably need to keep it open for more than a week, which means next, we're not going to take the next step in 2 weeks.
Actually, it sounds like we took the step tonight, but I was hoping we would take a step.
Oh,
at least a step.
So if that's fine and we want to post it on Indeed, then we can keep it open for 2 weeks or so. So there might not be any action at the next meeting, but we might have more applicants.
Is that
Yeah.
okay with you guys?
I mean, if we made a step forward tonight, I'm good for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Until February 3rd.
No,
No, what I'm saying is if I'm posting this on Indeed, I'm not going to do it for a 1 week posting to,
the next meeting's not February 3rd.
Yeah, well, I mean, but you would,
what I'm
is there
saying,
next meeting?
what I'm saying is if I post it on Indeed, there,
Oh,
don't
the
expect.
next meeting's really 3 weeks out.
Is it?
Yes.
It's-
Oh, that's right.
We're
It's
falling
on
in
the
a
calendar, yeah,
a 5 Monday month.
Sorry.
And
So we'll
so,
post it and we'll see what comes in then.
yeah, so you really almost have 3
If
weeks.
we got
before
3
the next
weeks, that
meeting.
might, and that's what I was worried about. was
That's
that
good
we had
enough.
2 weeks, So,
This
And I
is a
was
3
just-
week, yeah.
I
This
was
is
just thinking of a date, so that would, if you're running it through a Friday,
I don't think on any of these sites that we're sending it to, we need a date.
We can see what we have in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
okay, cool.
I have a question. So if we find the candidate that we all agree on and the offer is made, does council have to approve the salary that's offered?
Well, I would say yes.
Do they? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so, because they control the purse strings.
Speaking of
So we defined the range
But they
already.
define
Right,
the range.
and that's a
Yeah.
Salary.
range,
Salary.
so it would be
So they
commensurate
just
with their
have to approve the
experience,
appointment.
not a guaranteed. one.
Yeah, but the appointment's going to
We would
include
say
that range.
this would be a
So
fair.
it's gonna include that cap.
So if the salary request is included in the offer, then yes, council signs off on it
Yeah.
because we haven't hired the person.
Yes.
We haven't
So I
taken,
mean,
the
So council would have technically the final say on that.
nomination is going to have to include the requested salary.
Yeah.
That do it for you?
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if you could, if you made the offer independently of council or whether council would have to approve the offer.
I mean, even the regular percentage pay raises are within the cap and council signs off. on it. So.
Speaking of which. Speaking of which. We forgot to do that the last meeting. Approving employees' pay raises.
I need a motion to
Last,
approve
as of January 1.
employee pay increases as of January 1.
Former makes a motion, we approve the employee pay raises per the schedule we discussed.
McCreary seconds that.
All right, discussion. Good memory, Brian. I'm sure everyone will thank you.
I mean, I paid them back. Oh, God.
Right, this is effective January 1st.
I
Yeah.
want the chief, could you just cut it? I got it.
All right, hearing no discussion, roll call.
Cosgrave, yes. McCreary,
Yes,
Foreman,
Yes.
Schaffner,
Yes.
Reading.
Yes,
All right, any other old business? Any other new business? Our next meeting is in 3 weeks on February the 13th. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Schaffner moves to adjourn.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Unanimous voice vote. We are adjourned at 8:34.
Regarding the buildings and all that sort of stuff. So, sort of off of the record. My wife, recording. I turned the recording off. But you see